Lead attorney here. Hope you guys are doing great. And I have a show for you. Now, we have a lot of new subscribers. Some of you guys really might not know who I am. First of all, thank you for coming aboard. I really appreciate it. I am an attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been practicing for about 20 years. And so this is the information that I give on my channel. Try to give you guys the legal perspective of what's really going on. You know, we can kind of live in a matrix where you think it's one thing, but because of how the laws are fashioned, you'll find out very quickly that really the laws make it so that our reality is another thing completely. So what I'm trying to do is give you guys kind of a background perspective of some of the experiences that I've had over these 20 years here in the trenches. Now, to all my new people, yes, we're still going to do the celebrity stuff. All right. So you don't have to worry about that. But this particular conversation is not going to be one of those. Right. We're not going to talk a lot about celebrities. We might get into it a little bit, but this is going to be more about personal growth, more about business. We have here the amazing Ike Ogiamien, and he is going to talk about a lot of things. I've been wanting to have him on my platform for a long time. He knows everything. This man knows absolutely everything about business and personal growth, and I love to hear him talk. So for me to have him on my channel, it's a huge for me. Prior to this, we had El Guapo. El Guapo came on and he killed it. This is a black man, super successful. He was in the military and the Air Force driving or flying, I guess, F-16s, and then teaching other men to fly F-16s. So you have that leadership there. You have that manhood. And then before him, we had Pocket Watching with JT. We had JT on here, a public accountant and also a certified financial planner, so that we can kind of get our money in order. So we're definitely going to keep doing the celebrity stuff, but we're also going to do some deep stuff that's not so superficial, if I can call it that. So again, thank you to all the new subscribers. I really appreciate you coming. What we generally do here is, me and Ike are going to talk for a while. If you have questions or anything you want to participate, you can join in the chats. And then maybe about after an hour, if you want to come up, if you want to have a panel, and I'm going to open up the panel. If you want to come up and ask your questions, you certainly can. I don't know how long I have Ike for. We usually go for a while. So if Ike says around the 45-minute mark or the hour mark, listen, I have to bow out, then I'm going to leave that in his hands. We did a stream recently where we went 7.5 hours, right? So they hold me hostage here, Ike, but do not think you are a hostage yourself. You can leave at any time, but after an hour, maybe 45 minutes, I might start taking some questions, allowing people actually in on the chat. So opening up the panel, and you guys can come on and ask me or Ike anything that you would like. So I am very, very excited. Very, very excited about this. Let me just say, for tomorrow, we are actually having Bernard Riley on. Bernard is a YouTuber as well as Ike. Please go check out Ike's channel. I've listed it in the description box. Go over there, subscribe. He has a lot of great content. So, but we're also going to have Bernard Riley on as well tomorrow. He is going to talk about fighting for custody of his kids. That is something that a lot of men are interested in. A lot of people don't know what the system actually looks like, and Bernard fought for years for his kids, and so he has a lot of wisdom from a non-attorney about what that environment actually looks like. All right, so I am going to introduce here formally to the show. I'm going to welcome him, Ike, on. Thank you so much, Ike, for coming. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself and kind of again talk about your YouTube channel and kind of what your focus is.
Well, first of all, thank you. It is my honor, my pleasure to be here on this channel. Right, I think you're doing a kick-ass job. I'm watching from the clouds, as they say. Well, my name is Ike. Professionally, I'm an engineer, but also a musician and a little bit of an artist and certain other things, right? Now, I have a YouTube channel though. Since you're on YouTube, that may be a salient point, right? I have a
Yes.
YouTube channel that is about being better and doing better, right? Where information is given in a simple, measurable, actionable, and intuitive way. So, what's being better and doing better in the realms of business and building, in the realm of personal improvement, which involves many things, one of which is mastery of subjective consciousness, which is meditation, being able to understand your user interface, if you will. And then above that, in that same realm of personal mastery, you have things such as being more efficient, being able to hack the system so you get the outcomes that you want. Okay. Now, in other words, practical, measurable, intuitive advice for being better and doing better in all realms of life. And over there too, we have conversations about whatever comes to mind. Like I'm a student, okay? One of the main things about me descriptively is I'm a student slash
Yes.
teacher type, right? So I'm curious about just about everything. Okay, so we want to talk Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, not just those three, but Kant too, and Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, or whatever it may be, current affairs, whatever it may be, and how all these things tie together. History, philosophy, mythology, it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, there's always something measurable, actionable, and simple that you can get out of it. Something that you can do tomorrow, something you don't have to doubt or ask about. It's like, if you do this, you will get that. That's simple. So that in a nutshell is what I am. Again, engineer, professional engineer by trade, amongst other things, that keeps me busy. But in addition to that, I have this particular YouTube channel. I also have another YouTube channel called Prometheus Engineering, but it's mainly for engineering topics, egghead type stuff.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, whenever I hear the word engineering, I always think of math. Like most people don't know that there are no attorneys out there who are good at math. I think Michelle Obama was famous for pointing that out to the nation. It's kind of one of our best kept secrets that attorneys are terrible at math. So any type of the STEM areas, while I find them fascinating, I can only go to a certain point before math starts to get introduced, and then I'm out. But the theories and the concepts are awesome.
That's the thing that was it's interesting what you just said, right? It's interesting what you just said. And I can't help myself but comment on certain things and go on
No,
tangents.
please, yes.
Because I noticed, right, just from watching your channel and also when we came and had a conversation, there is you're a very logical thinker, right?
Mhm.
Where very step by step, very clean. You keep it very precise that way, and that is an important thing for doing for running any kind of system, if you will. Okay,
Yes.
it doesn't have to be the legal system. It could be a computer system or a system of forces and loads and stresses on the bridge, for example. Right now, the problem, me, for example, I'm actually not that kind of person.
Mm.
I'm more of on the creative, intuitive side of things, okay? Where my thinking tends to go off in leaps, not very sequential, right? So on and so forth. But still, I can grasp a system and implement solve for a particular outcome, if you will. I say all that to say this: math was never my strong suit
Mm.
until I found my way of doing math, right? Until I
Interesting.
until I made math intuitive, until I had a teacher that showed me how to do it that way. Now I had to struggle through it because really, here's the thing: I liked physics, right? I really liked physics. I knew I wanted to go into this particular area of
Mhm.
mechanics, the physical STEM area, if you will. But I always struggled with math, right? So I had to, as they say in these spaces, alpha my way through a lot of math classes,
Yes.
retake trig in the community college here and there and all those kinds of things until I got to calculus. When I got to calculus, everything came together, and then it was all
Mm.
A's and all that. So for anyone listening out there, you got to understand that there are different ways of thinking. What I described in terms of what you're very good at is called TI. It's
Mhm.
called introverted thinking. Oh no, sorry, intuitive thinking, right?
Mhm.
I'm more of a TE and intuitive type, meaning uh it's more of an external thing. It's like there's always a why am I doing this. That's why it tends to leap. It does not go through sequential steps. It's like, let me just jump and look at the big picture, so on and so forth. Now, for math to make sense for me, I had to see the big picture, the why, the graphs. What are the graphs saying? What are the shapes that they're trying to draw, right? Because everything is all about a shape, generally speaking, in math. Whether it be a line, a curve, a surface, right? All those equations describe shapes and so on and so forth. But I just thought that was interesting that you pointed that out. You're a very logical person. You're very good at that stuff. And if you found your way to play the math game, it would not be a problem at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it, especially in the field of economics. I'm very interested in economics, but economics is another one of those fields where if you really want to get into it, formulas are going to start to come up, graphs are going to start to come up, and then you lose me. I think one of the downfalls that I have and a lot of attorneys have with numbers. And speaking of numbers, shout out here to the Pocket Watching with JT. Shout out to the Pocket Watcher. He is all about numbers, guys. If you need someone to handle your numbers like I do, I had to, again, this is my very first interview. I was so happy to have him on, and it went extremely well. And he dropped a lot of knowledge. And I actually kind of kidnapped him after our conversation to ask him some questions myself, because I don't know anything about. The second I see some numbers, I'm out, right? And so shout out to Pocket Watching. Y'all go over there and subscribe to his channel. He's excellent. The work that he does, super entertaining while at the same time being informative. And that's a hard combination to have, especially consistently. So he is excellent. But one of the things that I think that separates my type of people, I guess, from your type of people, or people who are really good at math is really the grit. Right, the grit that you're able to really inflect on a problem and just stay with it. As soon as a person who's more logical, but maybe more, I guess, more into the words, right? As soon as we encounter a problem that we can't talk our way around, right? That we can't logic through. Now you actually have to sit down and come up with the exact number. Like, we're out, right? We're going to spend 2 minutes on a math problem, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm done. And if you have that type of mentality, I don't think you will ever be good at math. Even if you're a genius, even if you're a quant, you still need to have that grit, that perseverance that a lot of people who are more into language, they just don't have, because language is so free flowing. And a lot of times there's not a right answer, and we can debate and we can go back and forth. And there's nothing to say, no, you're wrong, because you didn't get 98.6 or whatever the answer is. And that's where math seems to trip up a lot of people, certainly people like me who don't have a lot of patience for it.
I feel you.
Yeah. So I totally understand where you are coming from with that. Let's talk a little bit about business. And again, shout out to all my new subscribers. Thank you for coming on. Let me ask you really quickly. Do you know anything about this Charlemagne the God and this Kwame Brown saga? Have you been keeping up with that at all?
Yes, I've been hearing it, right? Kind of like in passing, passing through channels and hearing that, Charlemagne has been picking on Kwame, calling him a bust, as they say. And he, clapping back, as they say, right?
Yes.
And him clapping back and then get a lot out of notice, if you will, on YouTube, a lot of eyeballs on him.
Exactly. And then, thinking about money and business, because now Kwame really has started his own YouTube channel, and it is exploding. And he's making a decision where I've seen some videos where he says, yes, I know people are taking my videos and they're just uploading them with no commentary, no revision. Like it's pure, just ripping my stuff off. And he says, I don't care, because it's helping me blow up. It's helping me get better. And I think a lot of times you will have content creators who maybe they want to guard their intellectual property a lot more, but maybe to the detriment of their own success, right? So it's interesting. What do you think about that?
That's a good point, because I think there is something that people tend to say. They call it overexposure, which is, in my opinion, I don't think it makes any sense at all. In other words, is Coca-Cola overexposed? I'm sure you can go to the Amazon somewhere and see a billboard shooting out of the Amazon forest that says Coca-Cola or something.
That's exactly right.
Is that a bad thing? The fact that everywhere you go, you see arches and, I'm loving it. is that why you buy or don't buy McDonald's? Because let's say on the don't buy side, because overexposure is supposed to be a negative thing, right? Overexposure is supposed to make you not want to buy McDonald's. But it's like, are you not buying McDonald's because it's everywhere? So the idea of trying to, especially in this media age, by media age, I mean the fact that social media and technology has blown things up ever since Napster and the MP3 took down the music industry. And now we're seeing YouTube is gonna, and podcasting, take down both radio and all other kinds of media as well. In this age where you have the ability to put yourself out there, just like Coca-Cola puts itself out there, the idea of being overexposed is silly. Let them take it. Let them put it out there. They're not Kwame Brown, right? Or whomever is listening to this right now. They're not you. They don't have whatever is unique to you, right?
Exactly.
So don't be overguarded and be like, oh, I can't have my name over there or over here. Where's the right place for you to be? Wherever there are eyeballs. Wherever there are eyeballs, that's where you should be. You never know. Maybe people hire lawyers from Instagram these days, perhaps, right? Like,
It's
just going through
true.
Instagram, legal service, like, the eyeballs are there. In other words, and as I said, I tend to go on, but
No, please. But I do too. I do too. So I love it. I love it. Yes. No, I totally agree. And I think maybe this is one thing where maybe this whole thing of overexposure, maybe it was absolutely applicable 40 years ago, 20 years ago. But with the internet has changed so much. And it could very well be that now it's not a zero-sum game. I've done a couple of videos on this whole saga with Charlemagne the God, and I've seen other creators now using my work. And I say, yes, please use it. Please use it. Oh, you don't even have to tag me. Just use it, please, to get my name out there, because I have a message that I want to spread. And if you're Kwame Brown, he's going to get paid for his videos. But I think a lot of times some creators say, well, I am the only person that I want to benefit from my intellectual property, from my creations, from my videos, from my creative work. It's not enough that I benefit, but I want to make sure that no one else benefits. So you have like a binary zero-sum type of game, whereas you can actually benefit more if you share some of your work, and then some of that work disperses out, and now people know you and come back to you. Because there's only so much money that you can make with one video on your channel, right? Because it's only on your channel. But if I have that same video and now it's dispersed to 1,000 channels, and now those watchers of those 1,000 channels know about me, my reach is going to be so much wider. A lot of people don't like that, because maybe those 1,000 channels are also going to benefit, but they're really not taking money out of my pocket. They're just really adding to my footprint, my digital footprint.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%, as they say. But in addition, okay, to this aspect of marketing and making sure that you are known and so on and so forth, there is a slight kind of a tangent here, and it's about customers, because again, this is the main thing about customers. And since we were just kind of talking about certain things that may be counterintuitive, certain things that may be, let's say, against what people call common wisdom out there, or what is the word? It's common sense or conventional wisdom. Yeah. Against the conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom says overexposure, for example. Conventional wisdom also tends to say something else. They tend to say a plan, a structure is very important. Like being able to know where you're going is very important. And I push back against that vociferously. I don't think that a plan, a structure is key. I think that the capacity to make moves, the ability to make moves, the habit of making moves, of problem solving, of just going there, getting your hands dirty, just attacking the chaos every time, is the main thing, not a plan. If you look at Airbnb was started by a guy, I forget his name now, it escapes me, but he was trying to be an entrepreneur. And as a result of him trying many different things and failing at some and so on and so forth, he had begun to inculcate this habit of let's solve problems. So he was at a conference where there was a problem. What was the problem? conference attendees did not have a place to stay because I forgot what city it was. Let's say Ohio or whatever. All the hotels were taken up, right? And he was like, you have air mattresses. That's why it's called Airbnb, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
How about we blah, blah, blah. He's a technologist. He knows how to do apps. It's like, we can do the app thing, siphon these people over here, and they can sleep on air mattresses. Okay. That was not somebody sitting somewhere in some boardroom with a bunch of MBAs talking about product market fit, going through a whole business plan, talking about how you're going to compete, blah, blah, blah. You're going to take down the hotels or whatever. It's a guy just in his mode of I solve problems. I don't know why. I don't know where I'm going. I don't care. But I solve problems. I make moves. All of a sudden, boom, you have Airbnb. All of a sudden, boom, you have Facebook. You have Google. My contention is more businesses, okay, especially the big ones, are started this way than the other way of, Steve Jobs and this other person sat down and they didn't map anything out. They were just geeks doing what they needed to do, what they were going to be doing anyways, tinkering around in the garage, right? That kind of a thing. So this idea that structure, thinking, and the reason why I made it tangential to the point of overexposure is bad is they both smack of that MBA, ivory tower, pristine classroom, no experience, no skin in the game type of thinking, where it's like, oh, well, you have to spreadsheet things out and you have to, it's like, there is no business plan that fails on paper, right? There is no such thing as, step 1, get the client. Step 2, attack the market this way. Step 3, I guess we failed. It's like, no, it always works. And then you sail happily ever after. So what's the point of writing a business plan then? It always works. But we know that reality is not that way. So the point is, things are more like riding a bicycle, right? You can read about helmets. You can read about carbon fiber versus steel. You can read about different kinds of gears on bicycles. You can read about bicycle seats. You can even read about trails. You can read about the physics of bicycles. But guess what? When you get on that bicycle, you're still going to fall until you fall the requisite amount of times to stop falling.
Right? That is exactly right. That's exactly right. Let me give a shout out quickly to Colette. Hannum, I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Colette says, it becomes a problem when people edit differently to fit a different narrative that's not the original. I think she's talking about when someone uses your creative work. And I think that's exactly right. I'm sure God has a bone to pick with a lot in terms of how a lot of people are using the Bible, right? A lot of people use the Bible for narratives that God did not intend. And so certainly we're not God, but we have our feelings about our own work too. So that is exactly right. I think you're exactly right, Colette. We got King of Spades. What do King of Spades? Great to see. This is a long time supporter of the channel. Thank you so much, King of Spades. What does King of Spades say? He says, hey, lead attorney, I'm multitasking TV and Selly with you and my RP gang. Excellent. I am still hanging in there with you, my guy. Perfect. Big ups to the group and the star guests. Fantastic. Yes. We got Abel. Abel says, what is the point of this conversation? Yeah, listen, Abel, I know usually when I do these live streams, we have a very set agenda, right? But now, this is a little different because we have a Renaissance man on, right? And so as Renaissance man, you can't hold him in, you can't pin him in. We're going to go somewhere everywhere. We're going to talk about a lot of things, guys, that are very finite, very discrete, very concrete on this channel. But I also want to just have some deep conversations, and I want you guys to be able to participate in these deep conversations. I was watching Ike's channel a few days ago, and he was having a conversation with this brother who was so deep. Jay Ibrahim, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Jay Ibrahim.
Jay Ibrahim, yes. And I felt so bad. I felt so starved for male intellectual conversation. I got Dr. Thunder. I said, hey, man, listen, Ike, please invite me and Dr. Thunder on. Let us crash your party so we can have a conversation, just 4 Black men speaking about deep things, right? And that's a great break to have, especially on YouTube when everybody's talking about Charlemagne and Dave Kwabe. And I'm the main one. Guys, you guys are going to hate me because tomorrow, guess what? It's another damn Charlemagne video coming out. All right. Because YouTube is loving it. YouTube is loving it. But I don't want to get drunk off that, right? I understand we got stuff that we need to do for the algorithm, but I also want you guys to be exposed to some deeper things as well. I really, really do. Now, picking up where you left off, Ike, talking about how maybe a plan shouldn't be the number one goal, and maybe it's not even really necessary. I totally agree. Totally agree. The example that really taught me this the most, and it really shocked a lot of people in the chess community. I play chess, and a few years ago there was Google invented a program called AlphaZero. Right now, what you guys have to know, you guys know the game of chess, right? And what you have to know is two things, right? Humans were very good at chess for a long time, but then in the late 90s, there was a computer program that came up and it beat the humans. All right, and it was a huge thing. It was a huge thing. After that, a human never won. A human never won. The computers took off, and it got to the point now where computers are so strong that really a lot of humans are just trying to mimic what the computers do without even understanding. We don't even know what the computers are thinking anymore. That's how advanced they were. And computers have been built to play chess for decades. And one of the strongest programs to ever be invented was this program called Stockfish. All right. Now, here's the thing. This program was super strong. Google invented a program, and all it didn't give this program a plan. It was kind of like a blank slate, and it said, these are the rules, and the only thing you need to do is win. Right? We're not going to teach you anything. And it pressed start on the program, and it let it go for 4 hours. All right, 4 hours. Just 4 hours, and it put it up against Stockfish that had years and years and years of iterations. And that damn program, AlphaZero, never lost a game. And it played 100 games. I think it won like about 30 games, and it drew the rest. So it never lost. And you say, how is it? How is it that a program that was not given a plan can come in after 4 hours and beat one of the top programs that the world has ever known? And basically what Google had the program do was play itself. It played itself millions of times in those 4 hours. And after the 4 hours, it was the strongest computer program for chess that we ever knew. And it was purely based on iterations, no business plan, okay, this is what we need to do. None of this top down stuff. It was all experiential, all experience, and just iterations of what actually happens. And from that came this program that everybody was in awe of. And if we had
machine learning, in Tesla, for example,
yes,
one of the reasons why Tesla is quite ahead in terms of the automated driving thing is because machine learning is, as you've already described, is about the computer learning based on iterations. And I like that you said that the challenger, the human person, had years of iterations, right? And the 5 hours perhaps was worth, I don't know, probably 10. I don't know how fast the processor was in that computer, but the point is that computer probably lived like 10 lifetimes in that 5 hours, right? Yeah. Gathering all kinds of information, learning all kinds of things about chess simply by just bumping up against, in other words, it knows what the outcome is, right? In other words, like if you want to teach a computer how to play Pong, it just says, well, if all it knows is that when the ball passes here, you lose, right? Exactly. And then it just starts doing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then come back a few hours later, it is a master of Pong. It doesn't exactly know what it's doing, but the neural net, if you will, runs these iterations and teaches itself, right?
Yes. And it's doing strategies that we as humans would have never thought of, right?
Exactly.
Maybe not in Pong, because Pong is so simple, but in other games there are more options, more possibilities. It's doing things that goes against, like you said, the conventional wisdom. A lot of times human conventional wisdom will drive a business into the ground, right? Because it doesn't adapt for the present circumstances. And
let me say something. Well, first of all, I think when you were reading Super, I think you missed one. I think there was a K polymath at the top, left 2 pounds or something like that. What
Oh,
was the
did I
first
miss
super
one?
chat?
Oh, I'm sorry. I get so
Yeah.
enthralled in the let me see
Yeah,
here.
it was a fairly early one. I see here on YouTube saying he said when the panel opening up, before we even started, he was
Oh yes, let me stop right there. I think I missed. Thank you so much, Ike. Listen, you are even a great guest reviewing the chat. So thank you. I appreciate the help. K polymath. Maybe it was the polymath that scared me off. Anything to do with math, I'm out, guys. I am out. He says, when is the panel opening up? We're probably going to open it up maybe in about 30 minutes. You know, I don't want Ike to get stormed because then he won't be able to get all of his knowledge out. You guys get on this panel and man, y'all got stories to tell, and I love it. I love it. But I definitely want to capitalize on Ike's time here. So, but we're going to open it up soon. We're going to open it up soon. So thank you so much, K Polymath. Thank you, and thank you for the super chat, the pounds. Right, I was talking to Jessica X in somebody's chat today, and she's also from over. Anytime I get pounds, I'm like, oh, I got the pretty money, right? I got the pretty greenbacks. We got another super chat. We got Reynold Cherry. Thank you, Reynold, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Says, oh snap, the lead attorney and Ike gems will be dropping. Absolutely. We are definitely going to get it. Definitely going to get it. And we have one more. We have SOBC. Says, great discussion, gentlemen. Ike brought me here. Fantastic. Yeah, guys, to get Ike on this show is really a dream come true. Sometimes I love talking all about the BS, and I do, guys. I really do. I'm a human just like everybody else, but sometimes I really crave a more higher level conversation. And if you want a higher level conversation, there's no one better to go to than Ike. So you were saying something was
yeah,
it
I was gonna, in the interest of, well, number one, you mentioned, time, opening up the panel, so on and so forth. And you talk about finite things.
Mhm.
We've been talking around the idea of, we started out with this whole kind of marketing thing saying, hey, overexposure is BS. Your job is to make people know you. And then we went into the whole thing of structure. It's a little bit of BS, so on and so forth. Okay, well, let me mention what are the foundational things then, right?
Well,
What are the foundational things? Yeah.
What are that's a great
Yeah.
question. Well, what are some of the foundational things that you think of in business, for example? Because a lot of this is being challenged, like you said, by the Airbnbs, by the Ubers, by the DoorDashes. What are some conventional things that still hold?
So I like to go meta, foundational to the base, and I would just say that the foundational thing is that life is a use it or lose it proposition. Okay. Point being this: if you don't use your muscles, if you just rest them, wrap them in bubble wrap, and keep them safe, what happens to them?
Atrophy.
Literal death, right? Same thing with your bones. Your bones actually don't get stronger unless you get this micro fractures. Same thing with the muscles, right? The muscles, you're actually tearing them up and then they heal, micro fractures, so on and so forth. Immune system, what happens to it? Your brain cells and your skills, what happens to it? Your relationships and so on and so forth, what happens to it? The ecosystem, or shall we say, the whole talk of adaptation, survival of the fittest. In other words, in order to be fit for life on the cellular level, the organism level, or even in the level of the entire ecosystem, there needs to be a bombardment, a constant bombardment of stress. Okay.
Yes.
That, I would say, is the fundamental starting point. Whether you're talking about life or you're talking about business, you need to be moving into the stress. There is, if you want to talk about the physical universe as well, we all know about entropy. We've heard about that. In other words, you can't just stay put. The universe actually goes backwards in terms of moving towards disorder, right? You're like on a river that is going backwards. You have to keep on rowing, even just to maintain. Okay. So I need not pull out more examples. We talked about physics. We talked about your muscles, your bones, your immune system, your brain, everything, the ecosystem, that these things, okay, need to be stressed, especially living organisms. Now, your washing machine, you can have a washing machine or a dryer, put it in the, in the basement in its nice little wrap. It can stay there for 50 years as long as it's not, corrupted somehow. And it's fine. But this is not true for life. So what does this mean? This means if you're not afraid, if you're not starting something new, if you're not pushing your boundaries, if you're not in a situation where you're asking yourself, am I good enough? If you're not in a situation where you're asking yourself, will I be able to pull this off? Then you're really not where you need to be. I would say that that is the fundamental thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And kind of what I equate it to, or kind of what that looks like to me, maybe using another word, is competition, right? And it can be competition between two people. It can be competition between two businesses. It can be competition between a person and the environment, or a business and the environment. A lot of times, you might have very complex systems where you have a business where there is competition with other businesses in a changing environment that represents, an extra layer of complexity. And
that is why complexity is the key term there. And that is why you cannot, by the way, and all these things relate, right? That is why you cannot business plan your way to success. It's because you have no clue what is out there. Like you have no idea all the different permutations, the different, in other words, chaos theory, basically, right? You don't know until you test. You don't know until you get on the bicycle, right? Now, if we were to continue, I said, the main thing here is, life is a use it or lose it proposition. And also we've mentioned certain things about, what, everything is like riding a bicycle. Now, what is the ecosystem? What is that thing which gives you feedback in the marketplace? You mentioned competition. Now, I would say this, the customer is the most important thing. So if you were to juxtapose customer versus structure, because I said structure and plan and all that kind of stuff is BS. And this, it goes with anything in your life that you're trying to do. You need to find somebody to do it for, because that person will give you product market fit. That person will tell you that, this food delivery service that you have, and I know you thought it was all about your tiramisu, but we don't care about tiramisu here. We just like your fries. You never thought that the fries were going to be the thing that won. You never thought that this particular feature of your app was going to be the thing that won. You thought, oh, they're going to be so wowed by feature number 5. Nobody uses feature number 5. Nobody likes your tiramisu.
Exactly.
So sitting in your garage, thinking about the perfect tiramisu delivery thing, the perfect app for this mythical client, is literally like being an organism with no ecosystem, which there's no such, doesn't exist, like some kind of organism in a vacuum. It's like, no, the organism is in and of itself a creature environment combination, right? What is an ant in space? It's like, what does it mean to have legs in space, right? The point is this: you need to go out there and get a client, not only because, one, they give you product market fit, but number 2, they actually hold you accountable. Because a lot of people, a lot of times, what tends to happen when people start businesses, and the reason why they don't go as far as they could, is usually because they drop it too soon. And the reason they drop it too soon is because they don't have somebody holding their feet to the fire. But if you were a food delivery, you're doing whatever it is, you're sending fries to your aunts or whatever it may be, you make this African black soap for your cousins or your church, whatever it may be. In other words, that customer, they will make sure that next week you up your game. And when you make let's say you make a video game and, an app, and you say, oh, there's going to be a version 2.0. If you have one person, even if it's your niece from Dallas that plays that game, he is one person now that's pulling you, saying, hey, where is version 2.0? Because what tends to happen is people just put out version 1 and they're just no customers. They play it themselves and then they drop it. They don't continue with the soap business. They don't continue with or they don't go further with their skills. If you have a skill, electrician, for example, I say immediately go get a certification to start doing it independently for somebody else. Because not only will, again, that product market fit and that reality, that ecosystem with which you're bumping against to make sure that everything, so you are fit, so that you are honed, right? But also, it is literally a star to hitch your wagon to, because
Yes.
customers will make you do things that you will never, do on your own, because now you're responsible and they hold you accountable.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. Let me go to the comments for a second. We got a Bell coming back. He says, okay, let's flow with it then. Is this philosophy question? Can computers be the next attorneys? Can computers be the next attorneys? Listen, if there was a way, look, I really don't think, especially with my, I'm a little bit interested in AI. It can only go so far. I only understand so much, guys. I was an English major, all right, in college, and then I went to law school. So my training on some of these STEM areas is extremely limited. I'm not competent really in any of them, but I'm interested, right? So pure interest is going to get you a little bit of the ways, right? And I'm totally convinced on the power of AI. We actually, all attorneys now use computers, of course, just like everybody else. And some of the new programs that have come out to help us do legal research are amazing. It used to be, if I wanted, let's take this defamation cease and desist claim that Charlemagne the God made, right? If I was representing Kwame, it used to be that I would have to go into the computer and type in, okay, defamation and all this. Now I can literally take Charlemagne the God's. I can take his cease and desist letter, the letter that he sent me. I can scan it in and upload it to a research program, and the AI in the program will give me all of the cases that I need. I don't even have to look for it anymore. The damn program just gives me what I need, and it's so much faster. It's so much better. It's so much more accurate. Now at the end of the day, standing in front of a jury, I can't imagine how a computer would do that. But this question is deep, because computers just they do it better in every single way. They do it better in every single way. So if there's a way to combine humans and computers, then attorneys are really all on it. That's actually a new form of chess that you guys might not know. Certainly the form is humans playing humans, but a lot of you have these cyborg competitions now where you might have two humans and a computer versus another two humans and a computer, because what they found a lot of times is computers can make some mistakes too. They're getting so powerful now. I think we're just kind of, stroking our own egos, but especially in the beginning, computers were making predictable mistakes that human intuition, not human calculation, but human intuition could actually add to the result. Right. And so that's what attorneys really are trying to do, using computers to add to our results. So that's a great.
Let's just take a historical perspective, right? Not that, history is always linear and we could always, but it gives us some context, right? There's always the case, because technology is technology is old as we've always been in the technology game, right? It's not like technology is a new thing. And whenever there's a new technology, okay, when the cars are going to take away, we're like, oh, what are all the horses going to do? What about all the buggy men? How about the people who clean up the horse dung from the streets? They're going to be all unemployed.
Yes.
What's going to happen in more recent years to the bank tellers when ATM machines came? You actually know what happened to bank tellers when ATM machines came?
What happened?
They actually more bank tellers now than before ATM machines. Now, this shows us something, right? Remember, we were talking about our inability to predict the chaos, the ways in which things will interact, okay? It turns out that more ATMs led to the banks led to more people interacting with banks in more ways, such that they could open more branches and needed more tellers.
Yes.
It was, no one really saw that, because we tend to think linearly. More ATM machines. What is an ATM machine? Automatic teller machine. Okay, well, that means we don't need a teller anymore. But you never quite see the second order effects that could come through. So, but one, and I think the line that you took here of the human/computer interface is a key one in seeing that, okay, the computer is going to make my work more efficient, cheaper, so on and so forth. But if you sit down, sir attorney, and think about all the things that you do and the value that you bring, you may find that all the things that the computer is now doing for you are things whereby you wanted to get rid of those anyways. It's like,
True.
that's not where you bring your value. That's not why you are the top-notch attorney or top-notch engineer or whatever. It's like, those things are just hurdles on the road, right? So, and never underestimate humans' ability to form new games, is really what I'm saying. We will find a new game to play. We will elevate the level. We will create another arena, because people always think, oh, well, we're going to keep on doing what we're doing now. And they're going to be these means and methods, technology-wise, that are going to strip out employment from these people who are doing these things right now. But we'll find another layer of complexity, another layer of another game to play. And a lot of times people go into, well, everyone's going to become an artist now. I said, we're far from the point where all problems in the world are solved, such that now the only thing left to do is to sit back and paint and drink bourbon or something. It's like,
Exactly.
I think that there are many more games, many more problems to be solved, many more ways of increasing human well-being that depend on us after we outsource some of the labor, if you will, to the computer. But anyway, just a thought on that to bring in the historical perspective.
No, I totally agree. And thank you so much for that. Let me shout out Beautiful Lies with the $20 super chat. Bomb in the stream. Bomb in the stream. Thank you so much, Beautiful Lies. Beautiful Lies says, the lead attorney and King Ike. This is special, folks. The viscosity of thinking on this stream is rare. I am out of town on business, but I will try to call in when you open up the panel. El Guapo. Fantastic. And again, this was my second interview, and I knew it was going to go well, but I did not know it was going to go that well. He came in and just enchanted the whole chat. He absolutely killed it. I didn't even know about his military background. This is a man, a lot of times, guys, we talk about relationships, of course, and you hear in the manosphere and the Red Pill community that there's no reason to get married. Men shouldn't get married at all. Well, this man, who flew F-16s and taught other men to fly F-16s, he got engaged and got married, and then he got divorced, and then he got married again, and then he got divorced, and now he's engaged to be married again, right? And so I wanted to bring him on because he gave a very rare, but at the same time, a common experience of having, maybe heartbreak, having a setback, but then remaining positive. Not sticking in this whole red pill rage type of phase, which is natural to go through. And guys, if you're in this stage, there's no shame in it, right? Because you can lose a lot in a breakup. You can certainly lose a lot in a divorce. You can lose everything. You can absolutely lose everything. But to push through that and to know that there's light on the other side. And so he just came in and he just laid down the law. So shout out to El Guapo and Beautiful Lies. He killed it.
I think that's a salient. Okay, in terms of relationships, because when you look foundationally, you tend to just see relationships with everything. Well, because everything is related. There is a universe after all. It's not like everything is existing in separate universes. It's all one. It's all related. When it comes to the whole relationship thing, there's one thing I want to mention, and then we may touch upon other aspects later. But the one thing that relates to what we've just said so far is the chaos aspect, okay? Which is in a system such as modern Western liberal democracies, which has a history that has always been evolving towards more and more freedom and equality at the expense of nature. Not that we are unaware of the fact that you can't have all these, but it's like, okay, nature is harsh. Nature is there's scarcity, there's harshness, there's confinement in nature. To have a nature is to have a definition, and to have a definition is, I mean, you can't be X, Y, Z, A, B, so on and so forth, right? But the human spirit, if you will, has that need that we want to expand. We want to go beyond nature, right? So we use our technology and our political projects, such as they are, especially in the West, to push back on nature and create more space for freedom and so on and so forth. Now, if you open your two eyes and you look at that system correctly, you understand what has gone on there. In other words, the things that were closer to nature, let's say, a man needs a woman for these particular things, protection and provision, the lower end of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you will. And then there is a natural system that bonds them together because they need each other. And then a societal system that kind of gives homage, if you will, to nature, as opposed to these other things, freedom and equality. Then you can expect the chaos is a little bit in check, more so. But when things have progressed as a result of decisions that we made, and it's like, well, I'm putting myself now in these decisions have been getting made since, the 1500s and so on and so forth. We've been moving towards this quote unquote enlightenment, Western liberal democracy, so on and so forth, right? But when you have your two eyes open and you understand the nature of trade-offs, you cannot expect that you're going to push freedom and equality and not lose certain things on nature. In other words, you're going to create more chaos now in these things that we're bound together before by quote unquote nature. And hence, you can choose to go in the game, but now you have to understand it's more like a business, more like the chaos is more, is what I'm saying, right? In other words, you may expect for one or two things to fail. You mentioned relationships failing, 1, 2, and now he's on his third engagement, right? Mm-hmm. In other words, this is the reality of the lay of the land right now. Okay, women no longer need men in the West. What do I mean by need? I mean they don't need them for an individual man in their house,
right?
For the lower hierarchy of needs, being food, clothing, shelter, protection, provision. You know what I mean? Because the men that do that, in other words, the men in the military, the men in the police force, the fire people, and so on and so forth, do the work, and the work is siphoned to the women via the means of the state, the organs of the state, if you will. So you don't need this family, small community, and like these are our men, they protect and provide for us. It's like, no, the men are impersonal faces out there that are doing. It's not like women don't need men. Men are still needed because women are not going to be out there felling the trees, doing the garbage, fighting the wars, firefights, and so on and so forth, right? But because of the hyper civilization, if you will, which again was a choice by us, because when people say like, what do you want? You want to go live in the jungle, right? But life is about trade-offs, okay? As a man, you can't say, well, I want some more freedom and equality, right? And I want the technology and so on and so forth that goes with it. But also I want simultaneously for everything to move in the same way with the same amount of order, all at the same time. It's like, no, there's going to be a period, and perhaps right now, whereby you're going to need to turn back and notice the ball that you dropped. Because these three balls, freedom, nature, and equality, they're all opposed to each other. In other words, there is no freedom in nature, right? Nature constricts, right? Nature defines, nature constrains. There is no equality in nature either, right? And then equality and freedom are also opposed to each other. So there's these three things that are opposed to each other. In other words, you can't say, I'm going to have everybody free, but also they're going to be equal. It's like, no, they're born unequal to begin with. And then the degree to which they exercise their particular talent, skills, and take advantage of circumstances is going to lead to more and more inequality, right?
Yeah, and really, to be honest, not to cut you off, but to be honest, I mean, you were even gracious in saying that, because if we're going to be honest, right? And again, I want this channel so that we're not going to be BSing each other, or not you and I, but just us and the viewers. We're not even born equal, right? No one can tell me that I was born equal to LeBron James. Right, you could look at our bodies and tell that. So it was never equal to begin with, right? And I totally agree that nature does not care about our concept of equality. We got Checking Yubu. Man, Checking Yubu has just been making all of these great comments today. Shout out to Checking Yubu. And one of the things Checking Yubu says is, competition, please elaborate, lead attorney. And we were talking a little bit about competition, guys, and competition, I feel, is the driver of everything. Now, I think it really is a consequence of something. I think competition is a consequence of scarcity, right? And so that's really what we're talking about. Everything in nature that's worth anything, maybe except for air, and even then sometimes, is scarce, right? So if you are a man, what is scarce? Well, food is scarce. We have to work for it. Women are scarce, right? We have to work for them. Our health, our health might not seem scarce when we're 21, but when we're 31 and 41 and we're eating and we're not working out, That is scarce. Anything that we really need is scarce, and that drive. Now, if something is scarce for me, then maybe I'm SOL, or maybe I can find it. But if something is scarce for everyone in my community, that is going to create an emergent element of competition. That competition now is going to drive me to not go to Marshall's to buy the suit, but maybe to hire a tailor to get my suits made for me, custom made, right? Because I want to be able to stand out when I'm in court in front of a jury. I want to be able to look good. That competition is going to drive me maybe to go to college. When really I probably could have supported myself with a high school degree and a vocational trade type of education. So anything that's worth anything, it's going to be scarce. And because it's scarce not only to you, but to other people in your environment, it's going to create competition. And that competition is going to drive you to get better, to get stronger, really in every facet. Just like Ike was saying, you really need to exert effort if you want to get better, whether it's working out in the gym or whether it's studying harder to solve that math problem, to stay with it. You really need kind of to take a step back in order to go 2 steps forwards. Well, nothing is going to encourage a man or a woman to take a step back like competition, right? Competition based on scarcity, based on the real goals that you need to survive, is going to be all the energy that you need or all the motivation you need really to get where you need to go. I see this a lot in divorce law, guys, where a husband will, he'll retain me for a divorce. And then he'll write me an email 6 months later, and he'll say, "Oh, lead attorney, just wanted to thank you again. Wanted to let you know that I've lost 60 pounds. Wanted to let you know that I'm back in the gym, and I'm riding a bike. I bought a new bike, and I'm running, and I'm swimming now. I'm doing triathlons," right?
The competition, huh?
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. That's exactly right. It's the competition. When he was married, he got those 60 pounds. Why did he get an extra 60 pounds on his body when he was married? Because there was no competition. But let him get out there on Tinder, let him get out there on Hinge, let him get out there on Bumble, right? When he only has 5 or 6 pictures to make an impression. And now he needs to lose the double chin, right? Now he needs to clean himself up. Now he needs to go and buy himself a new wardrobe when he was just wearing rags around the house when he was married. And the same, Lord knows the same thing goes for women. I was just listening to one program where the lady she showed up to some show. I think it was like the Steve Harvey show or something like that. And she was proud. She told Steve Harvey, I'm assuming that it's Steve Harvey, I don't remember, but she told Steve Harvey that her getting dressed up for the Steve Harvey show was the first time she had gotten dressed up and nice in a year. In a year. Why did she say that? Because she was married. Right. So she did, around the house, she just wore sweatpants. Certainly, she's probably a mom, so she had some kids, but she did not feel the need to dress up because she was married and there was no competition. There was no competition pressure that she had to face. And so checking you, but when I talk about competition, I really do believe that, competition and its relationship to scarcity is the driver of all important things. All important things. What do you think about that, Ike? You agree?
I totally agree. Now, there are a couple of things there, which is when I mentioned that life is a user to loser proposition, it is to let you know that even if you don't, let's say in the case of the person losing weight is the key, they have a healthy relationship, they got lazy. Point that I'm making, even without competition, still stands, meaning you are slowly dying unless you are stressing your bones, your muscles, your immune system, your so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, your IQ, which tends to diminish, I believe, as time goes on. One of the ways to keep it up is to be healthy in terms of working out, exercise, just exercise. Go out there and breathe hard and sweat, and your IQ will last. So the point is this, even beyond having to do it for extrinsic factors, which tend to be competition factors, or even trying to get in the goal for survival, I'm saying that, look, that's why I say it's fundamental to everything. no matter how comfortable you are, you need to get up and start being uncomfortable. It is, I didn't make the rule up, right? I did not make this rule up. Things die if they're not uncomfortable. Things die if they're not stressed. They atrophy, they go away. This is the main thing. And then a couple of things about competition that you mentioned. One thing is the meta competition. Again, we talk about this extrinsic competition, which you described rather well. But there is a competition, for example, between nature, freedom, and equality. Okay? Who set up that game? Okay? But, right? So there are meta things. In other words, there are things in other words, the universe is defined. And you cannot, there are
let me just
trade-offs.
jump
Anyway,
in. When you say the competition between nature, freedom, and equality, can you talk about that a little bit more?
So just to restate what this, I don't think this is a word, but I'm going to call it a trichotomy.
I like that. The trifecta, right?
Yeah. So it's this, okay? If you want, we have desires, some of which hinge upon more or less on different people, depending on their personality, right? Some people are into equality and fairness, right?
But isn't that equality and fairness just isn't that a product of not wanting to compete? Right? Isn't that
Said by people like you and me, but
okay? I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Because equality is just a function, it's just a part of scarcity and the competition. Really equality is just it's a competition play. It's a competition play. It's saying, listen, in my environment, whether I'm a woman in 1980 or I'm a black man in 1840, I've opened my eyes and I look around and I see that I am not equal in terms of my rights with other people. And so a play that I can do is say, hey guys, hey, let's just have equality. I'm not saying make me the king, right? I'm not saying make me the king, but let me just equal the playing field. That's what a lot of women were saying in the 1980s. Like, come on, guys, let's just equal the playing field so they can get up and they can get more of what they were lacking, more of what was scarce. But now it kind of seems that now that they're equal, they're saying now that we're equal, why aren't we queens? Right? Why aren't we queens? Why are we stopping?
Game.
That's exactly right. Well, it was long because they started at the bottom. Now they're here, right? Right? So, in my mind, it's all about scarcity and it's all about competition. And if you look at people, how they act, to me, I can always interpret the vast amount of things, really everything, in terms of scarcity and competition. Even the fairness argument is just a play. Just like in football, the right halfback sweep is a play. Well, in our society, equality is just a play to move you through the competition.
100%. You see, in the meta chessboard game, okay, all these things are plays. And if we were to step up with our God's eye view for a second and say, hey, you and Ike and lead attorney, you guys are kind of, you seem like competitive type people, and you probably have a certain kind of a mindset. So you're going to be saying certain things. However, it is true, as you have pointed out, that there are other people. Let's take agreeableness as a psychological parameter, which tends to be, and it's more with women and so on and so forth. But these are people who tend to care more about fairness. Again, we know it's a play. There is a grand chessboard of different kinds of, just like different organisms and different organs and different psychological modes are also playing to see which is the best. Because no one says, okay, you guys all go out there. We have people who are this way, people who are this way, people who are tall, short. Just go out there. Let's see who wins, right?
Yes.
So we know, though, that you cannot go out there and eradicate all the people who care about, equality. There's just going to be more of them popping up, right? So people who also are more on the freedom side of things, maybe they're on freedom because they like self-reliance and self-sufficiency, the freedom of the individual. I'm a libertarian, whatever, that kind of a thing. Those people also exist, okay? Now, and on the third hand, because we talk about freedom and equality so far, and we already see why these two things are against each other, right? Like, in other words, freedom, if you're going to be free, you can't say you're going to be equal. If you're going to be equal, then you're not free. In order to create equality, you're going to need some kind of power. We all know about, we can take extreme examples such as communism, for example, right? you need a heavy hand to make things equal, right? The third leg on that stool, and again, we're talking about this meta competition, or shall we say meta trade-offs. In other words, there's no way no free lunch principles of the universe, right? The third thing is we like nature. Why? Well, because we're natural, to the degree, the word is kind of defined that way. And we know that if we stray too far away from nature with our equality and our freedom and our science pursuits, there might be some kind of an imbalance, right? We go too far and we say, let everybody eat. Well, I know there's some, there, no, let me not use that one. But
what are we
there's
eating?
things that, no, like for example, and I know it was pushed by people who are the sugar industry or whatever, right? You get what I'm saying, like. But we push certain things that we think, oh, this is great. We're gonna revolutionize food production, and then 20 years later, oh crap, that gave us cancer, right? We have to go back to more natural. So point is this: there are these things which we value. Okay, what I'm talking about is the meta competition of values. There are things which we value, 3 of which I just gave: equality, freedom, and nature. And you, as if now we're sitting up on here on our God level looking at the chessboard, we cannot act like babies and say, oh, I thought I was just going to get all this freedom and equality and not have something go whack with nature.
Right.
Not have nature hit us over the head, right? Not have, whether you want to call it hypergamy or whatever it is. In other words, those primordial things that drove us and around which we organized societies before, if you run too far away from them, things will happen. So that's the reason why I call it the meta competition. Another thing about meta competition is this: values compete whenever there's an end to pursue. And it goes to your point of scarcity, because not every hunter is a good hunter, because there is a good way of hunting, right? Even before, take away the hunter, the instantiation of a good hunter, and just think about the concept of hunting well, right? It has a shape, it has a structure, right? And then there's all the other 10,000 different ways of hunting, right? Mm-hmm. That compete in this metaverse, if you will. Then the instantiation, the embodiment of that hunting well is going to come out, and he's going to be obviously getting the outcomes, right? Yes. So I wanted to just add to the fact that competition beyond the external competition, I'm competing for mates, I'm competing for resources, and so on and so forth. There is the competition for values, or the trade-off of values. There is that whenever there is an end to be pursued, there are better and worse ways of doing that. And there will be better and worse ways of people having those skills, and they will be in short supply, and so on and so forth. And in other words, in order for you to be one of those people, you're going to need to compete against the drives which push you against getting there. In other words, it may be laziness, right? Or whatever. In other words, even if you're not competing with anyone out there, you're competing with the setup of the universe in and of itself, these trade-offs, these balances, these things which, and you can't just push a magic button, And another thing, agree. Mm-hmm. On competition as well, because so we said that the main thing is to go out there and walk into the fear, go out there and walk into the uncertainty, into the stress, right? Mm-hmm. And then concepts such as scarcity and competition come up. And we're elaborating upon it, and so on and so forth. And then there's a question of, okay, well, with whom should I ideally compete? Now, this is a question of, in order to get outcomes that you want. In order to get the outcomes that you want, the best chances is don't compete with the Joneses, okay? And you may be seeing where I'm going with here. Mm-hmm. Compete with yourself from the past, always. Now, that's if you want to get things done, okay? In other words, increase the chances of actually you sustaining in the pursuit. You cannot be, as the saying goes, comparing your chapter 5 with someone else's chapter 20, right? Those kinds of things. Sounds trivial, sounds trite, but they are very true. Go into the stress, go into the competition, go into the gym, go in and take that walk, go and, cut out that sugar or whatever it is. And rather than look at, oh my God, look at my neighbor lady that always wakes up at 4 a.m. and she runs. Don't look at her. Look at yourself from yesterday and say, hey, you know what? You had one less can of Coke yesterday. You had one more serving of vegetable each day every week last week. That's good job. You're actually starting to feel it. Yeah, you walked 30 minutes yesterday. You always constantly put yourself in the focal point there, compete with yourself from the past, and give yourself the credit. Okay. So yeah, those are my thoughts on
Oh,
competition.
I totally agree. Maybe with the last part, I might not agree so well with you competing against yourself. I totally think that is the healthiest way. The healthiest way to compete. I totally agree. I think a lot of high performers don't necessarily compete with themselves. You look at the David Goggins, you look at the Kobe Bryants, you look at the Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was inventing enemies to hate so that
Mm-hmm.
he could so that would motivate him, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
can reach a certain point where you're so good, you really need other high performers to do it for you. But especially
Not,
when you're just starting out,
yes.
if you compare yourself to a Michael Jordan and you're just not now learning to play basketball, you're never going to make it, right? You always have to look within yourself.
100%. And
Yes.
that's why I wanted so there are things. So I wanted to, and that's why I said, to get the best chances of getting the outcomes, right?
Mhm.
Whenever you throw chances in there, you throw statistics in there, and you now want to give a average, advice and say, for everybody, compete against yourself. But yes, there's some crazy people out there, okay, that we need to look out there to compete against them. You invent people, or you look, you open the Bible and like, who's this Moses guy? I can do better than him. Whatever, and also, not that this is not a trivial point, because I already mentioned that using the external world is a key thing. When did I mention that? I said get customers, right?
Mhm.
And customers will help pull you. So I'm not 100. I am for using all the tools out there, both internal ones at the right time, and then also external ones. And there's a right way of going about it. It's like, yeah, when you got to cross the river, use the canoe, then leave the canoe behind. You need a ladder, pick up a ladder, that kind of a thing. But general advice is to anybody at any stage, be competing with yourself is the more healthy path to take.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Let me get this super chat here. Big Boss Real Talk. I like I like that name. Big Boss Real Talk. I like that. Yeah, the light on the other side of the red pill rage. It's called a passport. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. And I wonder what that says about competition. Maybe the competition is a little bit easier to the extent that you have a passport. It's a little bit easier when you expand your available women to maybe from 500 to 5,000 now that you've got a passport. Totally agree. I think the passport bros are definitely on to something, right? Definitely on to something. We got another one here. uh we got Zeno the Creator. Again, I love you guys with the pounds, man. Such pretty currency. I was telling somebody gave me, I think it was Yemi or somebody.
Hmm.
She gave me some pounds. I was like, I wish I had the damn currency. He says, just here to pay my dues to two kings, two kings. Well, I appreciate that. Certainly Ike is a king. Fantastic. Yeah. Here's what I'm going to do, guys. I am going to open up the what do you call it? The panel. Now, I'm on that Bernard Riley thing about letting 10 people in at the same time, but we're not going to do that on this one. I might let one or two people in, but I'm one or two people in at a time, but I'm going to cycle through because I really want you guys to have the most exposure to Ike as you can. So I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm going to invite people up one or two at a time, and if you got something to ask me, or you got something to ask Ike, or you just want to make a comment, come on up. We're deep. So if you guys, I know maybe I know a lot of you guys are here for the celebrity stuff. And let me say this too. Shout out to the Steel Curtain. The Steel Curtain kind of pushed back when I was talking about, it's all light and superficial. The Steel Curtain is absolutely right that there are some very important lessons that are hidden in this whole Charlemagne the God, Kwame Brown. It touched on a lot of serious issues. So even though I was making light at them going back and forth because, on surface level, it seems so trivial, but he's absolutely right that when you look deeper, there's some issues there.
Yeah.
There are absolutely there are some issues there. So
Yeah, I mean,
he's exactly right.
moving towards maturity tends to there's a dimension about moving towards the maturity that involves getting out of that brooding, teenage idealism, whatever the hell it may be, in whichever way it may manifest itself, and move more and more into the world, right?
Mhm.
So I find that the best philosophers, even because if you want to talk about trivial, then okay, on the other end you have philosophy, right? Some of
Mhm.
the best philosophers are those whom can observe the most minute little things in terms of popular culture, right? Immediately tack it down to maybe something in human nature, right? That runs all the way from now to the pre-Socratic philosophers or something, and make a very important point about it and how it bears upon history and economy and the trading of the silk and the 18th, whatever it may be. These things about being able to observe the real world as opposed to hiding somewhere in your cave and being like, oh, those things out there are just, it's like, no, 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 no. So as I mentioned before, I'm a student, right? And the things that I study do include popular culture
Mhm.
because these are human beings, okay? And you can look at it trivially, or you can look at it with a lens, with a wide view, and be able to. But one thing about passports, because it's right there on competition, as you said,
Yes.
it is also a means for, shall we say, rectifying the market. So if you're like, okay, China is where I get all my socks from, okay, China is not acting right. Okay. And at this point, I guess you can see the analogy of who China is and who's saying they're not acting right. Right. And and then you're like, you know what? I'm going to Vietnam. China, I'm not telling you anything anymore, China. The ball is in your court now. As a matter of fact, it's fine. You do or not do whatever. I'm going to go to Vietnam. China is going to be forced to react one way or the other. So you get the point.
Mhm.
Increasing competition in the market also helps in terms of you being able to perhaps coerce, perhaps influence the outcomes on the other side or on the supply side that you want. So if you think, oh, I can't get the kinds of women over here in the West, after all, the West is in the tip of despair with regards to freedom, equality, and the modern political project, and so on and so forth. And look, people are not geniuses. Okay, I don't know if that's a news flash, but people are average. Okay, I mean, the average person is average, and for the average person to even understand the ways in which the landscape has changed, what I said about women not needing men. Some people are like, oh, but we need, like, I'm not talking about your emotions here. I'm not saying that they don't want men. I'm talking about a real need. Okay. People keep forgetting that we're animals and we need visceral, and there are visceral things that actually keep us in check. And if those things are off, right, we need to find some other ways of arranging our souls and our lives and our communities such that things get back in balance. So whether you just have, the fluttering need because of self-esteem and so on and so forth for a man to give you, what's the word, validation, that's
Mhm.
very different from needing a man for protection and provision, right?
Well,
And yeah,
let me just jump in and let me not necessarily play the devil's advocate, right? But push back a little bit on that because I definitely see this in the on YouTube a lot. This narrative of women needing men. And do I think it's true? Absolutely, right? But I'll say this too, and this is the part that you never hear. A lot of times being a lawyer is just asking that extra question and just going one step further. Do you say, well, do women need men? And the answer is yes, right? Because who are the Navy SEALs, right? Who are the vast majority of the soldiers, the vast majority of the police officers, the vast majority of the firefighters, right? And they're men. Fair enough. But the extra question that not no one asked, but do men need men? Right? Men need men too. I need men, right?
mhm,
If four burglars are trying to kick down my door, right, I might need someone to show up to help. So
mhm.
if women need men and men also need men, then what's the fundamental point that we're making?
The fundamental point that people well, my point though, because I know what you're saying when people go off on that. Um, yeah, you need men, you need men. Therefore, you should. It's like I think that that's a fool's errand.
Hmm.
My point is looking at the landscape. In other words, my point is not, I would argue, is not a concept or a theory. It is empirical. I'm looking at the landscape and I'm saying that you have societies arranged in this way where the women stay over here, they nurture and forage and so on and so forth. The men are responsible for protection and provision, right?
Hmm.
And hence these people are now tied at the hip. And you have the infatuation phase and so on and so forth. Those things die away. It soon becomes either a business deal or something about the family, the continuation of the name, and so on and so forth. We see systems of intermarriage, either arranged marriage and things like that, that reflect that reality, reflect the relationship between men and women as kind of a business thing, right? They need, we need. Okay. Now it's more on the I want, right? That is my point. This is not a value judgment. I guess, yeah, that's the thing. It's not a value judgment. It's a statement of empirical fact.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at that fact now, then it's like, okay, cool. The chess game has changed a little bit. Now, how do I play it? That's my point. And the reason why I mentioned, people are not, the point is people need to be forced to see this. People don't think about systems in this way at all. They just want what they want. Right? It's like, but no, you're not living there anymore. It's a matter of empirical fact. You're not there anymore. And there is not coming back. This is a different set of, to the degree to which the passport bros are correct, it's like, yeah, okay, now it's also global. So I'm going to spread, I'm going to do the competition thing, going to force maybe people to act this way, blah, blah. I'm going to wait for the pendulum to swing back, maybe in my son's generation, maybe it's not right now. These are realistic viewpoint or views of the landscape, of the chessboard, as opposed to hoping, wishing, or thinking things shouldn't change. It's like, no, you went on a project to say, I want freedom and equality, and you thought nothing was going to change?
Right. You're exactly right, and I think your point about the passport bros, I think it's really right on, and I think in my mind when I think of passport bros, what I really think is arbitrage. To me, it's pure arbitrage. I can take, if I can go in one environment and buy a shirt for $5 in that same environment, if that's a fair price, I buy the shirt for $5. That means I can sell the shirt for $5, right? Because that's how much the shirt is worth in that environment. But it could be that I go to another city or another state, and that same $5 or that same $5 shirt I can sell for $50 because the environment is different. So I can never lose money in that arbitrage economy. Well, the thing about the passport bros is like they are the shirt, right? They say I'm worth one thing in Washington, D.C. I'm worth one thing in Atlanta. I'm worth one thing in Montgomery, Alabama. But you put me in the DR, I'm worth a whole nother thing, right? A whole nother thing. And so they are actually practicing arbitrage on their own self, So I think you're exactly right. Let me get this here. We got Zeno the Creator. Thank you for becoming a member. Thank you so much for becoming a member, Zeno. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. We got Raven Von Cuervo. Raven Von Cuervo says, "Dear Mr. Lead Attorney, you are handsome as hell." All right, I will take it. I will take it. Thank you so much, Raven. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we had Abel up in the house, but he got disconnected. We will take Noir, and then we will take El Guapo down there waiting in the wings. Also, anybody else that wants to come on up, you just click the link. Click the link below. I'll put it in there. All right, Noir, good afternoon/evening. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. It sounds like you got a little accent.
And I recognize the voice too, by the way. Some people might also recognize this voice. This is an infamous character in the Manosphere, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was gonna say that's the thing, guys. Because I'm new, especially these live streams, I don't really know who anybody is. I had one guy, he came up and he got really mad at me. And then he started a whole live stream himself about me. I didn't even know he was a YouTuber. I have no idea who people are because I'm the baby on the block. So thank you so much, Noir. Are you a YouTuber as well?
Correct. I am also. In fact, I'm actually running a stream right now as well, but it's on a different a different place.
Perfect. Well, you can shout out your stream. I have no problems with people letting people know where they can find you, on my channel. So if you want to let people know where you're at and put your link in the chat, you're absolutely welcome to.
Thank you. I appreciate that extremely well. I'll put the link on the private chat. So going back to the passport bros, there's a couple of things that you guys mentioned that I found interesting. Mm-hmm. So the psychology of the passport bro actually goes back into these African Serengeti, right? Going back into East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania.
Oh, we're going
region.
back. We're going back. Okay,
right.
I like this. Okay.
Right. So if we go back to the region, what would happen is obviously you'd have periods of plenty, whereby there's a lot of fruits, there's a lot of animals in the Serengeti where you could go and hunt an antelope. There's plenty of it. You bring it back, your wife, the whole community and village can enjoy a nice piece of meat. And you get the cassava, you grind it down, you remove the poison. Everyone enjoys a nice, hearty, starchy, proteinaceous food. However, because obviously in this part of the world is made of dualistic rain sort of seasons, it's either hot or rainy. And that means there's at least a 6-month possible period of nothingness. So what that means then is that a lot of times is that they will experience drought and no meat. Now, some bros said, let's go down to Tanzania. There's going to be some animals there. The other bro said, I don't know about that. I don't want to have to acclimate to a new culture, a new environment, which I haven't quite mastered yet. I don't know how to make houses in Tanzania. I'd rather stay here in this part of South Ethiopia or Kenya where I know what I'm competing with. I know the animals here. I know their behavior. I know the habitats. I know the lay of the land, even if they're competing for 100 brothers to 2 antelopes. While in Tanzania, right, there's no people there yet. So there'll be no competition and there'll be plenty of animals. So the passport bros move down. This is actually how the so-called Bantu expansion happened, because they kind of started out in like Nigeria region. The Nigerians decided to stay in the harsh forests, while the other Bantus kind of moved down to Congo and then into the other regions. So pretty much it's a psychology thing of basically of understanding cost benefit analysis. Am I willing to move to where the plenty of resource is or not? And this goes actually into a lot of the whole gender dynamics and how different people are paid. It happens that this is a more masculine trait because, again, if you're a hunter and it does go and carry out into your genetics across time, you're more likely to go and say, okay, I'm willing to go to where the job is. This is not just to do with relationships. This is just to do even with your economic viability. I'm willing to get a job as within an engineering or oil field, which means I would have to go work in Saudi Arabia. I find a way how to live there safely, peacefully, understand different cultures, and navigate in a dynamic system. Some people have this more intrinsically inbuilt due to the recessive DNA that has kind of grown and developed across time. So this is actually a very psychological sort of experience that some people have an advantage over. Can you teach them? Yes.
Well, yeah. That was the question I was about to ask. I was like, Noir, okay, you say some people have it more than others. Is it the case that perhaps some people's penchant for this has been dulled over time? And can it be at least reawakened? Not everybody is going to be the, globe trotting.
Yeah.
Exactly. But can we, what do you think, Noir?
Okay, just like trying to teach critical thinking, which is more of a psychological sort of framework to begin with, right? Most people aren't built to be critical. However, what you can do is you can instill these principles when the person's mind is under the age of 5, when it's still plastic. At that kind of moment, you can kind of inbuilt certain responses to be dynamic across chaos. Because let's say a brother thinks, okay, I'm going to become a passport bro. Unfortunately, most brothers will think of Central American countries. This is already a problem because they tend to be the countries with the highest level of crime. So they're going to have some inbuilt bias thinking that it's unsafe to go to these places. They're going to forego places like African countries, even though statistically, if you compare the crime rate, it is a lot more safer when you look at the actual crime rate. Their minds isn't able to resolve the heuristics that they have seen in the media. The heuristics tell you Africa is unsafe. The logic and crime statistics tells you it's safer than Central America. So it's a lot. It kind of takes the individual to be able to resolve certain chaotic elements and come to the right conclusion about the region, area, do the research, and be dynamic. Because a lot of the issues with the brothers who want to do this also tend to be unsuccessful within America for similar reasons, which will make them unsuccessful when they go there, which is they believe in the system, meaning they think, okay, if I just go to Ethiopia, I'll find a good woman and I'll be happy. Statistically, you are more likely to find one. However, if you're already sort of not understanding how to get one here, it means that you might be putting yourself in a position where you'll be abused.
If you don't know how to hunt antelopes, right? It doesn't matter that you go to Tanzania, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, I think that's a great point. That's a great point. And you relating it back, all the way to the dawn of time. I love it. I love it because we really don't get those comparisons a lot, but I think you are exactly right. I think you're exactly right. Thank you so much, Noir, for coming on. I got some other people in the back that I want to get to as well. But I really appreciate your observations and your perspective. I think you're exactly right. You're exactly right. This idea of competition, this idea of arbitrage, this idea of kind of going maybe where the people aren't, but then knowing that there are certain risks and rewards associated with that as well. I think it's a beautiful concept, and the way that you related it back all the way back to the motherland, I think that's fantastic. So thank you so much, Noir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a lovely conversation.
No problem. And if you want to shout out your channel, please do. There's no problem with me at all. All right. Okay, I am going to add El Guapo. I am going to add El Guapo to the stream. Salute El Guapo. Guys,
salute and salutations, lead attorney King Ike. What's up? Can you hear me okay, sir?
Yes, we hear you perfectly. Excellent. You hear you perfectly. Thank you so much. Guys, if you don't know in the chat, this was my second interview. From El Guapo, and he absolutely lit the whole damn stream up. He did fantastic, way beyond my powers as a host, right? So he carried me. He carried the whole stream. So thank you so much for coming on, El Guapo. What do you think about this, about competition, about the Passport Bros, about really anything that you've heard of thus far? We're just kind of open right now.
Perfect, man. Perfect. So I'll tell you from the very jump. Hey, Ike, I caught that trichotomy statement. That's real slick, my man. I like that. I caught it if nobody else did. Right. You know, we got to stop talking over their heads, man.
Right.
But
you're going to include it in your freestyle routine.
Not a dichotomy, a trichotomy.
A trichotomy.
Like, okay. That's it. But listen, so competition is huge. And one of the things that I realize has been lost in recent generations is the idea of competition. But I talk about this a lot, that success leaves clues, okay? Mm-hmm. And success principles translate. So recently I was having a conversation about Darwinism and the Galapagos Islands. And there's a principle that there is a survival of the fittest, okay? There are people that are more fit to survive. There are animals and creatures. There are plants. Listen, it's not fair, but the tall trees grow taller and the ones that are in their shadow end up getting stunted, okay? Life is all about competition. And it's not just in the micro here and what we can perceive, but it's in the macro, the entire universe. So if you guys take a step back and you actually look at it, yeah, the competition is real. It's very real. And what do we normally talk about, lead attorney? We talk about relationships, and we talk about men that don't want to compete, and we talk about women that don't want to compete. Well, guess what? If you want to stay in the shadow, stay. And if you want to compete, you better grow. And I used to be one that, let me back up a little bit. So you talk about my background, and I've been thrusted into leadership, and I've learned a lot about leadership in life, okay? Mm-hmm. And the number one job of a leader is to take complex problems and break them down into bite-sized, digestible pieces for the masses, okay? So when it comes to growth, I'm one that hated hearing cliches growing up because I didn't understand them. But the reason that they're cliche, that it's common language, that they're statements that people say without thinking about them, is because leaders took them, broke them down into bite-sized pieces for the masses to digest. So you look at the simple two-word term, growing pains. Ike, you talked about it. You talked about the small fractures. You talked about your muscle fibers tearing down and building back up. That is through pain. You have to, we talk about this in business and what I do in my world. You have to normalize the struggle. That has to be a part of your everyday life. And you got to do it. Now, I focus on the relationship side of stuff, but if you're not making yourself uncomfortable and putting yourself out there, you're never going to achieve what you want to achieve. And last thing, man, dude, it took me about 38, 39 years to figure out what you just said, which is the number one thing that you need to be in competition with is yourself. That is by far and away one of the best principles I've learned in life. Is that your former self, you said. I don't mean to misquote you, sir. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man, I'm with you guys. Listen, I sat in training all day today and came, I had a little food, and I was like, I didn't expect to get educated some more,
Oh,
Man, you put on my
no.
blazer and everything, man. What's going on?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about, because I have no military background. Can you tell
Sure.
us how maybe the relationship between military and competition, some of the things you saw in that environment?
Yeah. So I went to the United States Air Force Academy. Okay. So at the time I went there, and this is no self edification, it's just fact. Okay. It was the fifth highest ranked university in the nation.
Mm.
Okay. I think I mentioned before that it wasn't good enough just to have a GPA and extracurriculars. To even apply, you have to have a congressional nomination or higher. So you need a congressman, a senator, governor, vice president, president to nominate you to even
Wow.
apply to go to the school. So when you get there, you're amongst the best and the brightest in the country, arguably by far, because you have to have so much more than just book smarts. Then you get in there and then you get into leadership, and it's tiered into 4 different years. And the first thing that you have to learn as a leader is how to be an assertive follower. So, because if you can't follow somebody, you best believe you absolutely will be unable to lead. Okay.
Wow.
And this goes to lead attorney. You said that we're not all born equal. Very true. You know, yeah, LeBron, maybe, I don't know how tall he is. Was he 6'8", 6'9"?
Yeah.
Tall dude. But you're 6'3", right?
Yeah.
To the average guy, you're LeBron to them. You know what I mean? So you've got people that are further down the path that have walked through that minefield, right? And made it through effectively. And they're willing to come back and guide you back through. You better learn how to follow them.
Yes.
All right. So that's what it is. And you're in a situation where people's lives are on their line. You know, I started teaching flight to cadets in college. And what ends up happening is you can die in a glider.
Wow.
Simply die in a glider. So if they're not following my instructions while I'm leading them, or I'm not following my instructor's, guidance while he's leading me, there's a big chance for disaster in that. So men need to not only learn how to lead, but we have to learn how to follow as well. And women, you don't want me to get on you. I don't even want to come over to my channel. I'll tell you what to do.
Yes.
Right?
Tell them the name of your channel again.
My channel is Beautiful Lies, and I don't even need to say anything. Gail, hey sweetheart, LaBea, don't get mad at me for blowing her a kiss. Thank you so much for promoting my channel. Every time I jump in, man, she's so good to me, man. You know,
Gail is so number one, man.
She really is.
As my only moderator for so long. People were like, "Oh, it's not fair that you only got Gail. You're making her do too much work." But I had a sentimental value because I'm doing it. It was me and Gail, as far as I was concerned. As far
y'all
as I
against the world, 2 people in the trenches. You guys defend the nation. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Listen, thank you so much for coming on, El Guapo, man. You have a special place in my heart, too, in this channel. You will always be a friend of the channel. I really want smart, intelligent, well-rounded, just intellectual brothers like yourself, like Ike, like Pocket Watching with JT. Yeah, all right, listen. My channel's doing a little bit good with this celebrity stuff, right? But that's not really where my heart is. Don't tell them. My heart is with the brothers with this right here. So thank you so much for coming up, for sharing your story. So many men do not reach the level of their potential, not because they can't, but just that they don't even know that potential is actually there. They don't even know it's a possibility. And so when you see men who are doing extra things, right, that are extraordinary in maybe certain ways. No one's perfect, but in our own certain ways, maybe we stand out. We are showing the young men that there are possibilities out there that they can absolutely reach towards. And for us to walk and to be in so many walks of life, but really each one showing our own example. I think that's absolutely fantastic. So when you get up on here and start spitting the knowledge, you say things that, I could just never say. I've never been in the military and never led men like you have. So you are just giving another side of value that I'm unable to. So you are really helping me, and you're really helping my channel, and you're really helping most of all the viewers. So I really want to thank you for coming on. Give my warm regards to LaBea. And we had a comment here says Mr. Sermon El Guapo es como hielo en su traje blanco. That just means that you looking cold. You looking like ice in that suit right there, right?
I appreciate it. Hey, lead attorney, may I ask you a quick question, man? Because you got into AI, man, and I'm up here on some technology training. Can I ask him a quick question?
Absolutely.
May I ask you a question, Ike?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you were getting into artificial intelligence and stuff like that, and what are your thoughts on lead attorney? You were asked if lawyers will be replaced by computers and artificial intelligence. It's amazing as much as we do with computing and stuff like that, the strongest forms of computing are found in nature, right? So you look at DNA memory, okay, organic memory, right? I don't know if you guys know that your TV, that's an LED, means light emitting diode. It actually has organic material in it that gives you that brilliant color on your screen. But what are your thoughts on like quantum computing and stuff like that? I don't mean to get nerdy, but it's not often I get to have conversations like this, because if you get into quantum mechanics and quantum physics, man, that's some cold stuff, bro. You with your engineering background, I'm really curious to know what you think.
Yeah, so let me try to make it relatable here. Basically, what's the difference between regular computing and quantum computing, right? In regular computing, you have on or off, 0 or 1, states of matter, which we're kind of used to in our regular physical world. When I mean our regular physical world, quantum mechanics is physical as well, but I mean it's at our scale. At the scale of about 3 meters, right? The things that we see, things we care about. Not at the galaxy scale, where something called relativity rules, but at the very micro scale, there's something that's called quantum mechanics, which means you cannot say that this pen is here or here. It is a probability distribution of the pen being either here or there. We quite never know until we quite measure it. Now, not to go all, it's not a question about, oh, woo, mind blown stuff. You can dig into it and you can just, you have to break the rules of the frame that you're in. We're in the frame, as I said, of this particular scale, right? And that's why we don't, it's hard for us to think of things bending space-time as well. But when you're a black hole, galaxy side stuff, that's the rules. Those are the rules that play, right? So what's important, though, is that you no longer are stuck with the 0 and 1 mode, okay? You now have this 0 and 1, or maybe 0, maybe 1 mode. This exponentially increases the power of your computer, right? Now, there is an issue, though, in terms of actually building it. Okay, so if everyone understands what it does and where it's going to go, and I'm going to mention something also about the fact that the universe is, anyways, the building problem that we have right now, which if anybody comes out and solves it, that'd be great, is really just in other words, in order to keep a quantum state stable, you need to insulate it from all the noise. And the noise includes things such as even neutrinos. Neutrinos are these particular particles that just pass through you, right? And it does not interact with regular matter, if you will, right? So temperature, all kinds of disturbances, in order to keep a quantum state, you need to protect it physically. So there's an engineering problem, right? In the quantum computing world, in the quantum world, right? We can model it in computers in terms of like what the thing will do, but to actually build it, it's just hard, because the thing wants to, they call it the collapsing of the wave function, right? It wants to settle down into one particular state or not. Is the minute it interacts with anything, they say observation, but observation is interaction. So observation makes the cat dead or alive. If for those who are familiar with Schrodinger's cat, for example. So the engineering problem there is, how do you isolate this thing, keep it pristine and away from, but we're getting there. But the point that you made is key here. The universe is the most complex computer, because you have to understand, well, what is computation? Computation really is, you have rules and they're repeatable. In other words, you just keep doing the same things over and over again, and things keep happening. And the universe is the first computer. As a matter of fact, you can say it's the only computer, because all other computers are inside the universe, right? So the universe has, the universe has these things called rules, which are repeatable, right? Hence, and if you talk about the organic matter, for example, right? Carbon and all kinds of organic chemistry, by that I mean the fats, the carbohydrates, or the amino acids, or the nucleic acids. Those are organic compounds, right? These things are made with carbon and some hydrogen, oxygen, so things such as that. Is the most complex kind of outgrowth, whether you want to look at it as evolution or not. Fact is, it's here, right? It's right there in front of you. And when you compare with any other kind of things, organic chemistry, carbon chemistry, and the thing that carbon can do is so far out there in terms of our ability to engineer things. So not only is the universe is the model, is the computer. Okay, there is no computing without you. Computability is the universe in a certain way, because you talk about cosmos, you talk about order, and so on and so forth. So therefore, you don't. It's not like we're reinventing the wheel. We're borrowing some things from some other universe somewhere. No, we just try to harness that which nature has in and of itself. And then, yes, that quantum computing aspect is then tapping into this aspect whereby things are not, shall we say, deterministic, where things have this 0 or 1, or maybe 0 or 1, who knows, blah, blah, blah. It increases your ability to do computations, therefore. So, I mean, those are just some thoughts.
Man, wow. So
Awesome.
essentially what you just said is the universe is successful in computing and it has left clues. That's what I said. There you go.
That's exactly
That
right.
was dope, man. That was
That's
dope. Thank you,
exactly
brother. I
right.
appreciate it. TLA, that was awesome. Thank you for your time, sir. I appreciate you,
No
guys.
problem. Thank you so much for coming by. You are always welcome. You will always be a friend of the show. Thank you so much, El Guapo.
Have a good one. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have I can't read that.
Hello?
Lion Legal. Thank you so much. We had Dr. Sherry, but she I think right before we got to her, she dipped out. Let me get these super chats right quick. We have Judah Orenda. I hope I didn't horrendously kill that name there. Thank you so much for the super chat, Judah. He says, great conversation, gentlemen. Thank you. This is something that I really want to bring a little bit more often. So I really appreciate that. And thank you again for the super chat. We have Future Hunter in the house. Says, you guys are brainstorming. Yes. We're trying. Ike is up here just cooking, right? We're all just sitting back, listening to the knowledge pour forth. So yes, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Future Hunter. And we got Gardy Dennis. Thank you again. He doesn't have any comment. He's just saying, hey, thank you so much. We thank you. Thank you, Gardy, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Want to make sure that is it there. Shout out to Dr. Thunder. I see Dr. Thunder in here. I saw him somewhere, right? All right. So we have Lion Legal in the house. Lion Legal, good afternoon / evening. Can you hear us?
Good afternoon. Yes. I can hear
Perfect.
you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We've been talking a little bit about everything. We've been talking about competition. We've been talking about computers. We've been talking about the passport bros. What do you and I see Dr. Sherry has just come on, but you're up here now. So we're gonna get to you, Dr. Cheryl or Sherry. I can't really see it. In just a few minutes. But Lion Legal, what do you think about all this? You have the floor. You can talk about anything that we've talked about in the past, or if you have any new questions or anything.
I would like to say that how's it going, Ike? How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I haven't seen you around lately, but
right.
Nice,
Exactly.
Nice to hear you again.
Exactly. Thank you. Glad to hear you. I think it's great that we've got Black people doing great things, networking. That's exactly what we did in the community. Two professionals, two successful people exchanging ideas, and that's how we improve, and we're able to build. So first of all, I think that's a great thing to see, and I am excited about that. In regards to the passport bros or whatever, I guess the argument would be if you're not successful in the place that you're in, why would you be successful if you go abroad? Is that the argument?
No.
I think that
Okay.
we talked about competition, if I may,
Yeah.
Attorney. We talked about competition in many regards,
Right.
and then the passport thing came up, and then we said, okay, this is you doing arbitrage, number one, and then also it's a way of you saying, I'm going to take my business away from here, and I found a new competitor, and the person
Right.
here that you took business away from might then, change something, right? Or whatever it may be. But what Mr. Noir came in to add was the fact that, the landscape that he laid was that there are actually more viable, let's say, fruit or zebra or whatever in this other land, okay? But you still gotta know how to hunt, right? And you can't be the bum coming from this part, let's say Nigeria, and trying to go to Tanzania or something because there's more there are more animals over there, but you don't have your stoicism down. You don't have your hunting game down. And as a matter of fact, it is the same hunting qualities that make a man attractive to a woman. What do I mean by that? I mean stoicism. I mean the stoic values, those values that are required for protection and provision, right? So I think that's kind of like the lay of the land that we've laid out.
No, I think that Noah is certainly very well read and could be considered academic. I do disagree with him on this point, because it's possible to be in one environment and to be completely disregarded through no fault of your own, because you probably might not understand the customs, the culture, the way that people interact, even the language. There are some people that will go to a different country and can't even speak the language. How do you expect them to truly get to the top of the dominance hierarchy in any interaction if they have difficulty simply communicating? However, once you now travel, there's a lot more likely to be a place that you find exactly what you enjoy, you find what you need, and even the population makes it or increases the statistical likelihood of you finding a person that is going to get along with you and going to like you. Traveling is crucially important, very, very important. Even if you're a star in your hometown, it doesn't matter. Seeing the world gives you an educated perspective in a way that you cannot get from literature, because you get real life experience as you travel. You see the games that people play. You see how dangerous it is, but how good it is. You also observe opportunity. Why is it that a lot of business people travel constantly? It's not because they're trying to get away from where they are. It is because they're constantly looking for opportunity. So they'll go to a new country, a new territory, and they may even set up there. They may even spend time there. So you see, a lot of these issues.
And let me just jump in. I want you to continue. But let me just jump in. I really don't think what you said was contradictory to what Noir said. At least what I think you guys might actually agree. I don't think he was saying something that was different from what you just said.
I think you agree. The point that he's making though is, and that's why I wanted to press on him about how do you teach people, right? Because would you agree, Lion Legal, that it's going to be a self-selected group of people that decide to do the passport thing or any kind of frontiers like Christopher Columbus stuff, right? So they're going to have a certain psychological disposition, perhaps a certain set of skills and so on and so forth. The question is, how do you get more people to level up themselves psychologically, perhaps skills-wise, perhaps, such that they can also take advantage of those whom were naturally going to be frontiers people anyways, right?
First of all, you have to have a culture whereby people understand that in order to get to B, you first have to pass A. A means ensuring that your career is popping off, ensuring that you've got the finances to actually travel, ensuring that you can afford, for example, a house, afford, like if you're going out on a date, to pay for the meal, to go to a nice, restaurant, etc. Not just saying, okay, well, I'm not sure what I'd like to do in life. You've not got a degree, you've not got a job, you've not got anything. You're just going to go abroad and you think that'll be the answer to your problem. That'll be the start of your problem. The answer to your problems is actually ensuring that you put your life in priority, understand what kind of things will automatically make you more attractive to people, being fit, healthy, also gaining insight, knowledge, because for you to even appeal to people, you have to talk about things. So what are you going to talk about? Literature and philosophy and things of that sort? Or are you just going to say, well, well, I got drunk last night at the club. I mean, is that the kind of conversation that you'd be looking to now use in a new country, a new territory? So self-improvement is the most important thing. And for people that don't have an example of why they should improve themselves, that is essentially where they fail, because they've not seen a strong figure, an individual, tell them that. Unfortunately, most of the entertainers that you look up to are not going to give you that ethos. They're not. Their main objective is to make a living entertaining you, even if they embarrass themselves or they do things which you would not like to see your own child do. If you had a child, it doesn't matter. That is the job of an entertainer. A person who is a father figure, who is a good friend, who is a great example, if you have the good fortune to see them in your life, that is when they can now tell you things. For example, I've met people now that have started businesses, $1 million businesses, things of that sort. I can watch them and say, there are certain things that they're not going to do. They will not compromise the business by doing particular things. They don't do drugs excessively. They don't compromise themselves. But until you see those examples, are you really going to know what people do to get in that position? You have to see a real life example. So that applies to passport bros or this or that. You have to see the example of a successful person and then say, okay, these are the kind of attributes that you have to gain that success. Apologies if that was a long explanation, but that's my thought process.
Perfect. No, I agree. I agree. Thank you so much for coming up and giving us that perspective, because I think you're right on the money. I think travel is extremely important. I think, like Ike said, there's not going to be an entire population who's going to want to travel. And maybe so a question is, how do we get more of those people to travel? But that's the question, because what you're saying, Lion Legal, really is so important, that travel is such a great part, is such a life lesson, it's a great part of life, that to the extent that we can get more people to travel, more men
I can tell you the way.
And
sorry, yeah.
No, yeah. And to the extent that we can get more men to travel, and especially black men and men in our community, that would be fantastic. Yeah. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Can I just say something?
Yes. Just real quick, because I got other people in the back.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is that the best way to get people to travel is if they see a celebrity, for example, like a young black guy that is very successful, and he says, okay, he's going to go abroad, he's going to build businesses, and they look up to people like him instead of Cardi B, instead of Future, etc. If they see an example of somebody doing it, they will be encouraged to do it themselves, because they've got the exposure through by being able to live vicariously through that individual.
Gotcha.
Good point.
All right. Listen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem. And you're welcome to come up anytime. All right. Thank you so much. All right. We have Dr. Sherry in the house. Before we get to her, we are going to let me shout out Zeno, the creator. Thank you so much, Zeno. Galaxy Brain Time. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that super chat, Zeno. Thank you. We got, again, Big Boss Real Talk. I love that name, Big Boss Real Talk. $5 t-shirts, Passport Bros. That should be on a t-shirt. Because really, guys, if you are a Passport Bro, if I know you guys don't think about it like this, but in terms of economics, you really are you're the damn t-shirt. Right? It's just pure arbitrage, going from one environment where you're worth one thing to another environment where you're worth another. And I have done this firsthand. You guys see me, right? You guys know what I look like. I'm just an average black man. You take me and you put me in the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. I swear to God, there are 1,000 TSA agents that look exactly like me, right? So when I'm down there in my jogging pants and my suitcase trying to fly somewhere, I'm invisible to women. Like I am invisible. right? But where am I going, right? Where am I going? When I get off that plane 3 hours later, I'm going to be in Guanajuato, Mexico, right? And it could very well be that I am the only Black man in that entire city. And I'm probably one of 5 Black men in the whole city that's 6'3". So I stand out immediately, right? Now my value has changed, even though it's still, we're only talking about 3 hours difference, guys. I haven't changed the way I look at all, but my value has changed tremendously just based on my environment. So I'm $50 in Mexico, whereas I'm $5 at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. So it's just really just a game of arbitrage, increasing your value. And you don't need to go to Mexico necessarily. I mean, Atlanta is full of people with from New York. We're full of people from New York. We've been full of from people in New York for years, right? I made a comment about Charlemagne the God in this Breakfast Club. It's like, who watches the Breakfast Club? Well, the Breakfast Club is huge in Atlanta, but it's only huge in Atlanta from all the people that came down from the North, right? That's the only reason. So a lot of people in the North say, hey, I would like to buy a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom house for $200,000, because Lord knows you cannot get that in New York. So everybody has flooded Atlanta. So you don't even need to go to another country. In fact, if you're a Black man, really one of the best places in the United States that you can move to if you are interested in a relationship with a Black woman is Atlanta. Because some people say the ratio is 9-to-1. Some people say it's 20-to-1. There are Black women everywhere in Atlanta. In fact, Black women are moving away. Black women are the ones now doing the arbitrage. Black women are going to St. Louis and Cincinnati and Austin, Texas and California because they can't find a man. There are no men, I don't want to say qualifiable men, but you guys know what I'm talking about. That's readily available here. So you don't even need to necessarily go to the Dominican Republic or Brazil or Colombia. But the fact remains that travel, no matter where you go, travel is super important. All right, we have Dr. Sherry. Am I saying that right? I think I'm saying your name correctly. Is that right? Can you hear me? Dr. Sherry, can you hear me? I think you're muted. Let me unmute you. Can you hear me, Dr. Sherry?
I can.
Perfect. Your volume is a little low. Can you?
Okay. Let me see if I can make that a little louder. Okay. Is that a little better?
Yes, but that's a lot better. Well, let me say this though. There's a lot of static coming through your line.
Wow. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, there's a lot of, if you want to call back, I'll put you right up. I'll put you right up if you want to try to reconnect.
Thank you.
But there's a lot of static. No problem. No problem, Dr. Sherry. I'll just, perfect. All right, Ike, what do you think about this? Have you, because you are, where are you from exactly? I know a lot of people aren't necessarily familiar with your biographical history.
I am Nigerian, born and raised from the Ogiamien family, the royal Ogiamien family of Benin Kingdom, if you will. But
well, I think everyone can see your royalty, right? They might not know where you're from, but they can absolutely see the royalty. What do you think in terms of Black men traveling to Africa? I think we had Noir on, and he was saying that a lot of the passport bros, they think about the DR, the Dominican Republic, they think about the Colombia, they think about the Brazil, but most people do not think about Africa for various reasons. Do you think that let's take me for example, just a random Black guy? Do you think I'm worth more in Africa than I am in a Colombia or a Brazil? Do you think my value is higher as a t-shirt?
I think that any kind of novelty, right, is worth more to begin with, right? And then you add the actual objective markers such as economic status coming from the West, right? Coming from the West and being able to travel, right, already puts you as someone who's like, okay, well, it's probably more educated, more worldly, if you will, right? And probably has a little bit more dollars in his pocket than the average Joe. So just strictly speaking, in terms of, economic terms, yes, you are worth more in that regard. I do have a,
But worth more in Africa or in the Dominican Republic? I guess what I'm trying to compare is the
Gotcha.
Latin countries to the African countries.
Oh, I would say then you just have to look at straight up numbers, right? However, I think that perhaps going over, because of, I'm just gonna add the distance parameter. Crossing over the ocean definitely makes you more unique than just going to Southern America, which more people can go to, right? However, crossing over the Atlantic is harder. It's rarer, right? So, and also people know that it's harder and it's rarer, so they already kind of view you in a certain way as one of those people whom can do such a thing, right?
But being a black man, will I really stand out?
Yeah, being a black man, no, you're not gonna stand out, because if no one actually, checks anything. But this is when the whole question of, antelopes or vineyards comes into play here, because for what you're looking for, or whatever, I think that based on so there is a difference in the way people interact in different places, right? So I think that you'll find that your value, your opportunity to show your value or your difference, and so on and so forth, is those opportunities will more readily come opportunities for social interaction in a place like Ghana, for example, where people tend to be more friendly and smile and so on and so forth. And again, the women are a lot more feminine, and this is no shot at, they're more feminine than Nigerian women. Okay, this is not picking on any country or so on and so forth. People are different in different places. Okay. I'm married to a Ghanaian, for example, right? I did different things, try different flavors in different places, so on and so forth. But I happened to be in Ghana, and you will find that the opportunity for social interaction is a little bit, it's more than it will be, let's say, somewhere in Atlanta, for example, right? And I do have a lot of footage from Africa that I would like to kind of show on my channel to kind of remove some of the stigma, some of the strangeness. I think Noir mentioned that, Brazil, for example, has a much higher crime rate than Ghana. Okay.
Wow.
And, and it's like, why would you not go to Ghana, therefore? And for whatever reason, and obviously you're going there to be well-rounded, to be exposed to new things, because that's the new one thing that Lion Legal mentioned, which I agree with, is that most people need to be exposed to different kinds of things. Okay. And when you go to a new country and you see a different way of being, okay, there's no way of turning back. In other words, this now adds an extra dimension to your life, that extra dimension of fluidity, of movement potential, whereby you're like, you know what? Things are done differently, successfully in other places. Therefore, why am I stuck here, right? Why am I stuck here in this economy of all kinds? Maybe the sexual marketplace economy, maybe the economy in terms of hiring people for your businesses or whatever it may be. There's a reason why companies outsource their stuff. It's not because they're stupid. It's because, hey, you can take advantage of all kinds of differences, whether it be in the tax law, in the wage rate, or in your value, speaking of the arbitrage that we were talking about, right? So I would say that crime rate is low, okay? People, if you want to connect with Africa, with the homeland, whatever it is, that's a unique opportunity to do that. There's only one Africa, right? So all those things redound to the benefit of traveling to Africa, I would say.
Gotcha. I will have to. I'll have to think about that. That's fantastic. I hear a lot of people talking about Africa and how people, especially Black people, are sleeping on it. Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. He's always talking about it. So you are exactly right. All right, Dr. Sherry, can you hear me? I will unmute you. Can you hear us, Dr. Sherry?
I'm still trying to. Okay. Alrighty. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's a little low, but
Okay.
there's no static. So
How
that's a
about
lot.
now?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. If you could speak up, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
This is perfect. That's perfect. That volume right there.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. Thank you for coming up. We really appreciate it. And I'm not sure if you're new or old, but we have a lot of men on the show. And so I always appreciate when the ladies come up as well. So we really appreciate your voice and your perspective.
Well, I think I learned of you today when I was watching your video about Kwame Brown.
What did you think about it?
I thought it was absolutely amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I haven't done a lot of forays into the celebrity stuff, but this is the Kwame Brown videos really are the kind of the only ones that made a dent in anything. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Let me ask you a quick question. If I could, guys, I'm pumping Dr. Sherry for information. If I could have improved that video, what do you think I should have done to improve it?
Well, I think it was nearly perfect.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I really enjoy your voice. And and when I say voice, I'm not necessarily speaking about how you sound, but your message. And I wanted to call in to say that this is an exciting time for us in this society right now, because please don't take this the wrong way, but for maybe the past 5 years, I looked at society and I realized that things were not what they seemed in many ways. And what was missing was the Black man's voice. And I look at Black men as the fathers of our civilization. Some may say that I have Pan-African leanings, and they would be correct. And I look at what's going on in our society, and I thank God for social media, because before social media came along, every Black male voice was moderated by gatekeepers. And so when I hear the passion with which Kwame Brown speaks,
yes,
and the gems that he drops, and the education that he is providing, and most of us in this country talk like Kwame Brown, especially when we're not beholden to a power structure.
Yes, that's facts. We don't have to do all that code switching. You're exactly right.
Right. And there is energy that is lost in code switching.
Yes.
And so I say this with the utmost respect, is that the things that are going on our globe right now, the only people that I could see to fix it are Black men. And I'm so grateful that I'm living in this time period where the Black men are taking their brilliance and they are starting to work together.
Yes.
Because if we can make all this money for people who are running basketball teams and baseball teams and football teams, if we can make up 70%, then we can do that for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And there's something about a Black man has never poisoned water, air, nor food supply. And I can't say that about the others.
Right.
And so I am, and there's a Black manosphere, and there's a lot of disappointment with Black females or Black women, and it's all legitimate. It's legitimate. We dropped the ball. We did what we were told as Black women.
Let me ask you this. You say Black women dropped the ball. How did they drop the ball?
Well, we have ways of being. We were socialized and conditioned into ways of being that do not complement our men. And mostly because we are emotional and we operate from a fear base, when we are confronted, we double down.
That's super interesting. You might need a YouTube channel, because if you got on YouTube and started speaking that truth, you would have more subscribers than me in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
Well, right now I'm at a crossroads in my life, and I'm just looking at what I'm put on this earth to do. But I just say, so I appreciate that compliment. I appreciate it, but I know that there are great things, because the brilliance that people like yourself and Kwame Brown and Ike Ogiamien, I think that's your last name. I'm sorry if I didn't say it correctly, and even people like O'Shea Duke Jackson and other
Yes.
people that are out there, that are just working behind the scenes. If we can have the synergy that wins basketball competitions, this is the same thing, the exact same thing. I feel like Black men did not know who they were, and now is the perfect time for you to step up. And as women, I want us to be your biggest cheerleaders. I know that when women lead things, it's usually chaotic, unless the woman has very masculine tendencies. And so we end up with a population of women who are calling Kevin Samuels because they don't like the outcomes that they've produced.
Mm.
And so at any rate, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and please keep up the great work. And I'm loving this content, this intellectual, this, sometimes it's visceral with a person like Kwame Brown, and it's what we need. It's just what the doctor ordered.
Yes. Well, listen, Dr. Sherry, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your kind words. But way more important for that than that, thank you for the truth that you were hitting us with. And I'm always on the steel curtain. There's a few people that I'm on that I'm just like, man, please start a YouTube channel. The world really can use your voice, and I promise you. The steel curtain, what's my man's name? I forgot his name. Naga. I think that if you guys started a channel, it can't be that hard if I've started it, right? But I promise you, Dr. Sherry, there is a huge need for your voice, and especially the way that you come across, that you project yourself, the energy, right? Gosh, there's so much riled up energy in the manosphere. There's a lady that came into my chat, a young lady that came into my chat a week or so ago. And because I'm new, you don't know this, Sherry, because you just found out about me today, but I've only been on YouTube about a year, and I've only just started doing these live streams about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Well, last week, a woman came onto my chat, and her name is Jessica X, right? And I didn't know who she was, but I was reading the chat, and I saw everybody start shouting around like, "Oh, Jessica X!" So that let me know. I don't know who's who in the YouTube space. And so the reason that I found out that she was a somebody, I didn't even know she had a YouTube channel, was because of all the attention that the people in the chat were giving her. So after the chat, I got on her YouTube channel, and she has a YouTube channel, and I was super impressed. And one of the things that I was impressed about was her voice and the way that she carried herself. In fact, I will tell you that I was listening to her stream, and there's a guy who comes onto my channel all the time, and a great guy, and he wants to express himself well, but there's something wrong with the way that he talks. And I have been super embarrassed about how to deal with this issue, because he would constantly come on and I didn't know how to deal with it. And then I saw him on Jessica's channel, and you can't really have someone on the panel who can't really talk that well, because everybody else is like, I can't hear him, what's going on? And the way that she handled that situation with so much grace. I mean, I learned from her. So I was like, oh man, she definitely has some amazing qualities. And I think that with the way that you speak, with what you say, and how you present yourself, your energy, I think you could do amazing too. Now, the steel curtain, I'm trying to get him to start one, but he says, I can't do it. Like, I got a job that doesn't allow me to do it. But if there's a way that you can do it, I promise you would find a lot of success on here.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words of support. And please just keep up the great work. I've watched about 3 of your broadcasts so far today, and your voice is refreshing. Your voice is, we need, we crave. And there is a small population of women that realize that they got it wrong, Black women. And moreover, and better than that, one of them, I was so happy to hear this past weekend that my 17-year-old niece wants to be married and wants to be a housewife.
Wow.
And I was, because when I've never had a conversation about marriage until and femininity and being soft and feminine and allowing the man to lead. That started maybe 18 months ago. I was told you get out there and you push and, ooh, my goodness. So I'm grateful because that energy is hard. It causes health problems in us ladies.
Yes. Yes. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. Of course, I love to have the men on, but there's a special place in my heart for the women too, because I know a lot of times women don't want to, they don't want to get into spaces where they feel like there might be the possibility of some negativity. I've had people, someone wrote in my chat today, I shouted out O'Shea Jackson and O'Shea Duke Jackson in one of my videos today. And someone wrote in the comments that, oh, I loved your video, but O'Shea Duke Jackson is related to the manosphere and hates women, right? So the instant that you get labeled that you're part of the manosphere, like a certain percentage of women just write you off. So to be a woman and participate in the manosphere and to get up kind of on stage on a panel and express your views, and especially the way that you did it with just such a powerful message. I salute you, and you are always welcome back. Any woman, of course, anybody, any man or woman is welcome on the panel. But I want to take an extra step to shout out the women, because I really do think it takes a little extra oomph to get up here in a room full of men and express your opinion. So I really thank you for that, and yeah, just thank you for being you. And listen, Dr. Sherry, think about starting a YouTube channel for real. I did a video on how much I made on YouTube. Now, if you watch that might discourage you, right? But so maybe you don't want to watch that. But really think about it, because I really do believe that your voice, and with what you're saying, your knowledge, your experience, I think it would go extremely far. So thank you so much for coming up, and you're always welcome to come back.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Good night. Have a good night. All right, guys. Well, listen, with that, wait, let me just, there was a comment here that people are making. Did your boy Kwame really shout me out? Does anybody know?
I've been seeing that. It was like someone was like, he just shouted you out now. I was like, well, he mentioned you. I'm like, okay.
Man, if he shouted your boy out.
I need to get that clip.
Oh, yes. He doesn't mind people ripping his videos. I'm going to put that thing on front and center. And listen, shout out to Kwame. Listen, we are all for you, man. We are all for you. And your mama's cooking, okay? So shout out to Kwame if he sees this stream. Oh man! And then somebody got on me because they said I was pronouncing his name wrong. You know I'm 20% white, so maybe I guess I was saying Kwame or Kwame. I don't know which one it is. But if I said it wrong, Kwame, no disrespect. You know we are on your side. We are definitely on your side. So thank you for the shout out, and we're riding for you. We're riding for you. Okay, listen, with Dr. Sherry's comment, this might be a great place to call it a day. I definitely want to respect Ike's time. You know, I start these live streams and like, oh, everybody's talking amongst each other. And then I put Ike on here and everybody's shouting out Ike. You know, first Jessica comes on, everybody shouts. Well, Jessica didn't come on. She just showed up in the chat. and everybody's shouting out Jessica. Ike comes on, everybody's shouting out Ike. People are joining the panel just to talk to Ike, like I'm chopped liver here, right? But again, that's really the whole purpose of this video. It is to bring important people to you. Like I haven't known about Ike for too long, maybe about a month or so. Again, because I'm new, maybe a month and a half. I would see him a lot on Bernard Riley's show. And the stuff that he was saying, I was like, Jesus Christ, I got to talk to this guy. And he was nice enough to let me and Dr. Thunder crash his party the other day. And I really appreciate that. And I love it because
you're welcome. Anytime.
Yeah, I'm looking for intelligent conversations, and Lord knows that Ike is always having them. Let me do this because I got a super chat, and I never like to end streams on I never like to hit and run, take a super chat. So I'll go for a few more minutes if Ike has a few more minutes, and then
sure.
I says shout out to Lead Attorney's Bladder 12-hour stream. Yes. Hey, Adrian, listen, I clicked on you and you disappeared. Did you want to come back? If you want to come back, Adrian, I was actually going to incorporate you into the panel. But I think we don't, if you're gone, no one else is back here. So let me do this. Thank you, Bama for the super chat. I really appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and close it. I was going to get you, Adrian, but then you disappeared. So I don't know. No, Jessica's not here. She just showed up in the chats. I'm new, guys, so I don't really know who it is, who anybody is. And I saw her in the chat of one of my videos, and it's like all the chat was like, "Hey, Jessica, hey, Jessica." I was like, "Oh, okay. This is a somebody right here." I'm learning who people are. All right. So, Ike, any closing words?
Well, I would say by way of reiterating the main thing here, the main thing is life is a use it or lose it proposition, right?
Yes.
You need to move towards the fear, towards the stress, towards the anxiety, towards the discomfort. I think that our man El Guapo said, normalize the struggle, right? Mm-hmm. That is the be all and end all of all kinds of endeavors when it comes to living a good life, living the worthwhile life, living and being successful in any endeavor, is you always want to be uncomfortable. Just a little bit outside of your comfort zone, just a little bit outside, just doubting yourself a little bit. Can I close this deal? Will I be able to actually pull through on this promise I just made to these clients? That's the sweet spot. You stay right there on the edge of chaos and you will achieve all kinds of things. You'll be happier for it. Because we know that to sit down, not only do your bones atrophy and so on and so forth when you just rest, we know that we're not satisfied with that. We know we just don't want to be sitting on a beach drinking Mai Tais all year long. We know what happens. We're going to get frustrated. We're going to get bored. We're going to look for some chaos. So why not have some organized chaos towards the productive end of things, in the productive arena? So to reiterate, life is a use it or lose it proposition. Stress your bones, stress your muscles, stress your skills. Always move towards the stress and everything will take care of itself.
Facts. That's a perfect way to end it. So listen, let me thank everybody on the chat. Let me thank everybody who gave a super chat, especially. Let me thank the one and only Kwame Brown. We are riding for you, Kwame. We are riding for you. And of course, let me thank Ike. He was so gracious for his time. He has allowed me to have him on my platform and to bring himself and his thoughts and his knowledge to you, which is really all I want. I want my viewers to really get the best experience out of this channel. We're going to talk about some celebrity stuff, but you better believe that that's not all we're going to talk about. And shout out again to the Steel Curtain, who made it a point to say, even in some of this celebrity stuff, there can be some deep issues that we need to discuss. So I'll not trivialize it like that. So thank you everybody for coming on. Really appreciate it. And thank you again, Dr. Sherry. If you're still listening, start your YouTube channel. If the Steel Curtain doesn't want to start one, well, at least hopefully you can start one. Thank you, everybody. We will see you soon. I'll have another one of these. At least I'll see you soon. Be looking for another Kwame Brown video tomorrow. And I hope everybody has a good night. Now, listen, no one's asked me any legal questions, right? So it's fine. If you want to ask legal questions in the future, you certainly can. None of, I'm only giving information, okay? None of this is legal advice. I am the lead attorney. I'm not your attorney, the lead attorney, and I'm here to help you lawyer up. Thank you so much to everybody. Y'all have a good night.